Go live button. We are back in business, and we are going to wait for the tubes to connect themselves all across the fruited plain of the internet on this lovely Friday. Woo! We made it through another full week, and we're glad and grateful that you are here and with us today. It is a beautiful day. Looks like the tubes are connected over on the YouTubes. We're waiting for our friends on Telegram, on Locals, on Rumble to boot up, and it looks like the tubes are connecting themselves, which is just a great day. And I hope you're having a beautiful week, my friends. Let's go ahead. There it goes. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Fani Willis back on the stand. It's day 2, and we're going to be covering the full day. We were here. We did a full day recap on full day yesterday. Today, we are going to do a recap. So we're up here a little bit early. The official court proceeding should start in about T-minus 30 minutes from now. But we got to recap and see what the heck happened on day 1, because it was an absolute doozy. And so let's go ahead and just jump right into it, shall we? And see what happened in this case. Day 1 recap. Fani Willis, Nathan Wade were on the stand, and we're going to see what happened, hitting some of the highlights on the first day of a very important disqualification evidentiary hearing that might result in the entire Trump RICO case being dismissed, or at least Fani Willis being disqualified and her entire office being disqualified, which would have some pretty serious consequences, right? This might actually deviate the entire course of the case, because if Fani and her team can't be there on this case prosecuting it, they might have to give it to someone else. And that means the whole thing might restart. The next prosecutor who gets it, the next county over or wherever it goes, they would then have to reevaluate the case and come to their own conclusion about whether there's any merit here. And I don't think that there is. So it might be the end of the case. Now, we had several witnesses who came out. I want to hit the highlights on what happened on day 1. This was Robin Yurdy. Okay, so this was a woman who used to work with Fani Willis until there was some big falling out. And she is going to be the target today on day 2. She will be the one who is going to be receiving all sorts of impeachment evidence. They're going to try to just obliviate her, right? They're going to call other witnesses, and these other witnesses are going to come out and say, this woman was a monster. This woman did some bad stuff and bad this and bad. And they're going to try to just destroy her, because right now she is the person who causes this little troublesome bit of evidence to come in. And this is the fact that they had a relationship before they alleged, right? This is where the big lie comes in. Fani and Wade, their big lie is that in 2022, that's when their relationship started. And no, that's not what Yurdy says. You're going to hear her explain this, courtesy of our friend ALX. He clipped this, and this is what she said in court. And this is a problem, because if the relationship started in 2019, that means Nathan Wade and Fani Willis lied to the court in their affidavit. They said their relationship started in 2022. And they're being very, squirrely about all this. Or, oh, what is a relationship? What is a cohabitate? What's a receipt? What is a gift? They're all very, dumb all of a sudden. And here is what this first witness sounded like. Robin Yurdy, former employee at Fulton County and former friend of Fani Willis.
For what personal and romantic is later. When I ask you personal, do you take that to mean romantic?
Yes.
Okay.
Romantic.
And do you understand it that their relationship began in 2019 and continued until the last time you spoke with her?
Yes.
For what personal and romantic is later. When I ask you personal.
Okay, so romantic relationship, and it started back in 2019. That is directly opposed to their affidavit. Okay, so we have a witness who's testifying. She knows Fani Willis. They're going to say that she's biased because ultimately, I think she resigned. She wasn't fired, but there was a big falling out. She was ultimately resigned from Fulton County. And so they're going to come out and say that she's biased, right? That she got fired, she's scorned, and she's just trying to destroy Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. by saying that their relationship started in 2019 when it didn't. And they said in their affidavit to the court their relationship started in 2022. Now, again, we don't really know like what relationship means to them. Like Fani said, she's not a big holding hands person, you know. She's not really into that type of stuff. So I don't know if she just jumps right into the indictments or whatever she does immediately, you know. She meets somebody, you want to come, you know, whatever. So that's a problem, right? There's a lie. Boom, it's pinpointed by Robin Yurdy. They asked her some questions, and we'll see what the judge says about that. So that is where we started the day. Then we had a bunch of Nathan Wade stuff. And so we got some great clips here, and a bunch of great people are covering this stuff. So we're going to shout them all out. Colin Rugg had this clip for us. And this is where this was a shock because everybody kind of went, what? Oh my gosh. Remember, one of the key elements that we're talking about is whether or not there was a financial benefit that was paid to Fani Willis. And Fani Willis is saying that no, there's no benefit to her. Why? Because she reimbursed Nathan Wade. She came out and just paid him back, essentially, right? She turned this nice getaway into like a 50-50 split. And so she brought cash with her all the time. And we know that Nathan Wade paid a bunch of money for Fani Willis because it came out of his business account on his credit card. And we have questions about that, right? But the story is he was paying for her to go on these trips. And the only way that he could essentially do that was because he had this nice cushy job from Fani Willis. In other words, she hired him as the special counsel, then was paying him a boatload of money. If he didn't have that money, then he wouldn't be able to go on cruises. He went to Aruba, Napa Valley, which wasn't a cruise. They went to Norway, you know, they went to Belize. They were hanging out all over the place. And he was able to pay for these things because he had that Fani government money. And if he would have decided on his own volition, if special counsel Wade said, you know, there's not much evidence in this case and I need to dismiss these charges. This is a partisan political prosecution, as a prosecutor is supposed to do, which is, of course, do justice, not just get convictions. Then maybe he dismisses the case. And if he dismisses the case, what happens? Well, he doesn't get paid any more money and he doesn't get to go on those cruises and so on. So we know that we can follow a chain of evidence in the expenditures, but what about the reimbursements? Can he come back in and say that he was 50-50 reimbursed, and can he document that? Of course not, because it's all in cash.
All I needed. You said in the affidavit that you roughly shared travel, though, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this roughly sharing travel, you're saying she reimbursed you.
She did.
And where did you deposit the money she reimbursed you?
Oh, it was cash. She didn't give me any checks.
So she paid you cash for her share of all these vacations.
Mr. Schaefer, you'll step out if you do that again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so all of the vacations that she took, she paid you cash for.
Yes, ma'am.
And you purchased all of these vacations on your business credit card, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you included those in deductions on your taxes, correct?
No, ma'am.
No, you did not.
Did not include those deductions for the expenditures on his taxes, right? So he gave it all to his CPA. He's saying he was in alignment with the tax code. But you heard that a defendant there, David Schaefer, in the courtroom, right? He probably laughed out loud, right? He's like, ah, gosh, of course it was cash. What a friggin', you know. So then the judge scolded him. Do not do that again, okay? Do not do that again in my courtroom. We do not want to see that happen again. And, you know, you got to keep decorum appropriate in the courtroom, but obviously cash is LOL. We all LOL'd yesterday. What on earth? Of course it's cash. Okay, and these are prosecutors, by the way. Like, these are not unsophisticated witnesses. It's not like we just got some people off the street who've never been in a courtroom before and don't know, you know, how all this works. They know. They're prosecutors, or, you know, so-called. So that was what Nathan Wade said. The cash thing was a big, you know, explosion in the courtroom. Laura Loomer clipped this one, said, you know, they've never even spent a night together in the same rooms. And here is what this one sounds like, other than when they were on travel. You know, he would go over to her condo. She got this condo from another friend, and this friend, which I believe was Robin Yurdy, now that I think about it, was apparently never stayed the night. They never slept over at all.
Isn't it true that you would go to Miss Willis's house in South Fulton County occasionally?
I've never gone to her house in South Fulton County.
You've never gone to her house in South Fulton
I've never
County?
seen her house. The first time I even heard the address of that house was when One of the individuals in the election fraud case somehow doxed it and it got out. That was the first time I'd even seen that address.
But you would go to the East Point condo, correct?
What East Point condo?
East Point, Hateville, something like that.
I've never been to East Point with Miss Willis.
You've never gone to a condo in either the East Point or Hateville area with Miss Willis.
Wait, that's different. I have gone to a condo in Hateville.
Okay. So Hateville.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have gone to a condo with Miss Willis in Hateville.
I have.
Have you spent the night there?
Never.
Never spent the night.
Never.
Never.
Wow.
Is that the condo that was rented by Robin Yeardy?
Come on, Nathan.
I believe it was.
And other members of the DA staff were there as well, correct? Sometimes.
I've never been around other members of the DA staff
Oh, that's weird.
at a condo in Hateville.
There's never been any security for Miss Willis?
Okay, so that's another interesting exchange, right? He went over to this condo, and it was a little bit of a, indictment house. They'd all gonna go there and apparently indict each other. But apparently he didn't stay the night, whether you believe that or not. But it's curious. Great point came up yesterday in the comments, which was about, they didn't really ask him about if he went to her houses, or I'm sorry, if she went to his houses, right? If she ever went back to his, house so they could put their old judicial robes on and, enjoy it. But this was another interesting exchange from Nathan Wade. He's kind of playing dumb, Hateville versus the other, location, and being a little bit coy there. So another exchange we have from Benny Johnson, who's also covering this, I believe. And so shout out to all of our friends who are covering this. Some great people are covering this. Nathan Wade on Fani Willis, he says, traveling with her is an absolute task. And we're like, I believe that one.
Let me say this. Let's take the Belize trip, for example, since you started there. That was a birthday gift to me, so I paid nothing for that trip. Zero.
She paid $2,500.
So the charges that are on your card, she gave you cash for?
She did.
Okay. So all of the charges...
Excuse me, Your Honor, the witness has finished answering the question.
Oh, did you have more?
I did.
Okay.
I wanted to get into the charges on the card because, so traveling with her is a task.
Yeah.
You can probably imagine the attention that happens. So for safety reasons,
I don't imagine that at all.
she would limit her transactions. Imagine trying to walk through an airport or sit at a restaurant or do anything.
Which is ridiculous because Fani Willis, when she came back out, she's like, we went to dinner all the time. She named places. Remember, she's like, we went to Lickety Split. We love Lickety Split. Or we'll go get some pizza, Mellow Yellow Pizza or whatever. What are you talking about? She's really into the food stuff. So they went out all the time. And give me a break. I remember our Arizona county attorney when she was much more prominent and, a much higher profile county attorney, and nobody recognizes them. Right? It's another position. Maybe some people do, but give me a break, right? You're not in hiding all the time because you're the county attorney. Now, she is high profile because she seeks the media, right? She goes out, she gives speeches, she does interviews, and so on. So it is a little bit different there. But I do believe traveling with her is a task for many reasons.
There's no attempt to conceal. It's a credit card. Everything is here. So.
And that's not what I asked.
Okay.
What I asked was the charges for Belize in March 2023 on that credit card. Those are things you purchased to go with Miss Willis to Belize.
Those are things that we booked with my card that she paid. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we booked with my card, she paid it, and so everything was split 50-50. And the consequence of this is that there's no benefit, right? There's no financial benefit. And so that means that they don't need to be disqualified if there's no financial benefit. You can have a relationship, but is there a conflict? And is it material? Those are the big prongs that we're considering here today. Here's another one from Wade.
So in 2023 December, you said you didn't have any receipts.
I do not have any receipts. I did not have any receipts.
But you did travel with Miss Willis in 2023, correct?
I did.
And you traveled with her in 2022, correct?
This is when he was being coy about receipts versus statements. Okay, well, he's like, I didn't get a receipt like from the grocery store, you know, like from CVS, and like you could like weave an entire coat with a CVS things, you know, and because they're so long. And then they finally get through all of this, you know. Again, he's not a dummy, supposedly. He's a special counsel, special prosecutor.
I did.
And you traveled with her in 2021, correct?
No.
So you only traveled with her in 2022 and 2023?
2022 and 2023 is what I recall.
That's what you recall?
Yes.
Okay. So you just don't remember if you traveled with her in 2021?
2022 and 2023 is what I recall.
Is what you recall. My question is, did you travel with her in 2021?
I'm not recalling any travel in 2021.
So it's not yes or no, you just don't remember?
I'm not recalling any travel in 2021.
So
Yeah,
you did
I don't
not
recall.
travel with her in 2021?
Your Honor.
This has been covered. Let's keep going.
Thank you.
He does not recall. Okay, can't remember. So that's what Nathan Wade sounded like. Charlie Kirk also clipped this one, and apparently it was $3,000 in cash, right? This was this exchange. Question, when Miss Willis would pay you in cash, you would just go down to the ATM? Like, where would this money come from? And nobody knew where the money really came from. Fanny said that she just got it out of deposits, and, you know, she's been saving it for a long time because her daddy told her to save a bunch of money, but apparently she doesn't really care if her daddy gets, you know, left at her house where there's threats of attacks and gangbangers and all the things. So, all right, here is Nathan.
Okay, so then you tell us that Miss Willis paid you in cash all the money for the entire trip. It was a gift for you for your birthday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you probably have the deposit slips where you took the cash and deposited the cash into your account, don't
Right?
you?
I did not deposit the cash in my account.
Of course
You
you
don't
didn't.
have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Mrs. Willis in cash, do you?
No, sir.
Not a single solitary one.
Not a one.
Now, when Miss Willis would pay you
Amazing.
in cash, would you scamper down to the ATM with her and as she drew money out of her account
Your
to
Honor.
pay you these thousands of dollars?
Mr. Gillen might scamper, but there's been no evidence that Mr. Wade does. I object to the phrasing, the argumentative nature of the question.
All right, so not a look at that smirk right there, right? All right, so no, not a single transaction, Very weird, you know, because they're all dealing in cash, which is just outstanding. Okay, so that was Nathan Wade. Our next witness right after that was Fani Willis. And man, there was a lot from this one. First of all, she came bursting into the courtroom like the Kool-Aid guy, and she said, I'm ready to testify, even though they were fighting to quash her subpoena. And quite frankly, I think the judge was inclined to maybe not quash it, but to very, very narrowly limit it. And she didn't even care, didn't even let her team try to defend her. She just walks right up, says, I'm ready to go. And our friend Amuse on X, he caught this one. Look at that wink from her, huh? She sits down and winkies over at the rest of the table, which I don't think that was a very smart play because, quite frankly, she didn't deliver. Now, here is what it sounded like when she took the stand. She was absolutely unhinged. And here was the question, right? We're talking about financial benefits. Do you have any proof of this reimbursement, right? It was all cash. So what do you have to prove, Fanny, that you actually reimbursed him and that you did not get a financial benefit from this transaction, from this relationship with your special prosecutor?
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes. We're talking about, I'm very confused
You've
now.
never
Like,
given Mr. Wade money through Cash App?
No,
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened is, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So
You signed
don't
the
be cute with
contract.
me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
if
never
we
used
would
a
go to
credit card?
dinner,
Let her finish her answers.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay, 4 times she's given him cash. They definitely went to dinner a lot more than that. And we also have concerns about the aggregate benefit to Fani, right? The aggregate, how much money or how much benefit total did she get? So if Nathan Wade took her to dinner 4 times and her portion of the bill was $50, remember, she likes Grey Goose, which we're going to hear about. And they went out, she had 1 Grey Goose, 2 Grey Gooses, okay, whatever. Her portion of the bill is $50. They go to dinner twice, that's $100 in the aggregate. 3 times, that's $150 in the aggregate. So is she reporting that stuff in her disclosures? Answer, no, she has never done that. She has, in fact, covered it up in her disclosures about where she gets financial benefits from, including from people that she does business with, as she's supposed to disclose under the law in Atlanta. But she has not done that. And so now, right now, she's admitting only 4 times. I've only given him cash 4 times. So like they're talking about the big vacations and the big transactions, but they're missing all of the other smaller benefits that she got that were cumulative over the course of their relationship.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money
was
I've
Belize.
handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating
What is that, like a law school exam question? Thanks, Fani.
right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The
monies.
proof is what I just told you.
Yeah, my testimony.
You have no
Nobody believes you. That's the problem. Do you have anything else to substantiate your claims? Because right now your credibility is kind of lacking because you're screaming at people on the other end.
written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof.
can move
of-
to the next question. If you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises.
Judge,
and that's
I
the
asked if
cruise
she gave him
plus
written
Aruba.
proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant.
All right, no written proof from Fani, okay? Cash. Lady, I don't have checks. What are you talking about? Okay, that's fine if you don't have checks. But did you like put this in a spreadsheet or something? I mean, she's the DA, okay? She charges people in her office with all sorts of financial crimes all the time, right? For you name it, okay? It's the DA of Fulton County. They charge a ton of crimes, every other type of crime. So she should know better, right? If, you know, if there were questions in a private business about somebody embezzling cash, would she give them the same benefit of the doubt? Oh, you just keep cash at home and you just, okay, don't keep any records? Got it. Here's another one. She flipped out. She says, you're confused. I'm not on trial. They're on trial. How dare you question me?
Well, no, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So my question was, do you have any
I
problem?
object to getting any personal records of mine.
We're not dealing with privilege through a witness.
And I'm not, no, I'm not dealing with privilege. What we had offered to put them in camera for the court to review, and I just want to know if she has any
That's not something
problem.
you deal with a witness.
All right, so she getting a little bit irritated, and she also had this little flip out moment. Benny Johnson grabbed this one. She flipped out, man, grabbed the documents, starts waving them around like a lunatic. Listen.
And where, when did he come to, I guess the condo, I'm not sure what you called it, condo apartment, would he come and stay at that condo or visit you there? I'm sorry, visit you there?
What condo, what apartment? I want to be clear.
So not your house. I know you classified one as house and one as condo, so I'm trying to use those terms.
So but there's been more than, see, what you don't understand is because of this case, I got to move. And so I need
If you could
to,
ask a more precise question.
yes, please, give me the time period. that we're
Mr.
talking.
Wade visits you at the place you laid your head.
When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you lied in this, let me tell you which one you lied in,
Here
right
we
here.
go.
I think you lied right here. No. This is the truth.
Judge,
And
this is-
it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Willis?
You see.
Mr. Stano, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes.
Judge called it, right? Judge is like, "Eesh, we're going to take 5 minutes," says the judge.
Stano, thank you. We're going to take 5 minutes. Be back in 5.
Cut it, cut it, cut it,
where,
cut it, because she was losing her bananas, okay? Absolutely unhinged. It's a lie. It's a lie. Okay, you're the DA. You got to relax. Keep it together. Now, she's also saying that her ex, Nathan, so-called ex, they're not still together. She says he is a sexist. He's like, "Hey, go make me a sandwich, Fani."
It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan.
Don't need no
a
man.
man is a companion. And so there was tension always in our relationship, which is why I would give him his money back. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't need no man. Strong, independent woman who don't need no man. And she also had a difficult time understanding certain words like hoarding cash. What'd you call me?
My words, cash hoard that you had collected over time.
Cash what?
Hoard, H-O-R-D-E.
Oh, I thought you said something different, sir.
No, I'm afraid I wouldn't say that under any circumstances to you or in
All right,
court.
back on track.
So hoard, cash hoard.
I would not classify.
All right, so what did you call me from Fani? She's just spring-loaded, ready to go. And of course, she likes to live lavish, okay? She doesn't drink garbage like wine. She likes Grey Goose because she's sophisticated.
Much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours that you do, which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him. He likes wine. I don't really like wine, to be honest with you. I like Grey Goose.
Oh, great.
I bought him a bottle of wine while we were there, and the sippings that you do. I can't remember how many, like 4 or 5 different places you go.
What?
I remember we went to this place that they do pairings. That was the most expensive thing that I think that we did while we were there.
This was so gold because she's just explaining their whole relationship. They're going through this whole itinerary, she says. I went to this one, got a steak over here, got lobster over here, huge fan of caviar. Then we got this nice hotel room that overlooked the ocean. You're like, good Lord, lady. Like, it should be like, yes, no, I don't know, right? You just kind of, we did travel. Yeah, we did travel. Okay. Yeah. And I reimbursed him for all of our travel. Next question. Keep it very short and sweet. But she's like walking through. I love Grey Goose. It's my favorite.
So they would pair, they would pair champagne, chocolate.
Sounds
and
nice.
Champagne, chocolate, and caviar. It was a 3, and it was like 3 different things. Sweden, Russia, someplace else. I'll make that up. But that was the most expensive thing we did that trip, and I paid for that.
You pay cash?
For us doing that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Okay. So they're having caviar. She's footing the bill for it all. And she's also apparently not going to emasculate a black man, okay? I don't know if she'll emasculate a white guy, which is very inappropriate because apparently she didn't sleep with a white guy.
Very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
And I do appreciate the
I'm not going to
characterization.
emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm not going to emasculate a black man. Did you understand that?
All right,
Well, I don't
let's
think
get
we should
back on
discuss
track.
further.
Mr. Sato, next question.
Trying to, Your Honor. Would you tell us
Gosh.
on the occasions in 2020 that you
Very
All right, so that was Fani Willis. That was her giant expose defending herself and defending the honor of her county and her lover, Nathan Wade. That was day one. Day two is next, and we're going to get to it. Let's see if we're on the docket. Refreshing with Judge McAfee. And are we live yet? We are not live quite yet. Let's see if 11 Alive is live from within the courtroom. Looks like they're warming up. Let's see if Judge McAfee is warming up on the day. He is not fired up, so let's see what 11 Alive has, because they are live. But they do not have the trial. They've got storm trackers. Let's see what Atlanta News First has.
Opinion, but there's not enough evidence to disqualify her from the...
All right, we're still waiting for the court to get in session. There it is. Okay.
Morning, Your Honor. Detail and good political for President Trump and
Day two, Fani Willis. They're announcing appearances. All the attorneys announcing. We just heard Steve Sadow for Trump. The rest
Mr.
of the
Durham
defense attorneys
joining us by Zoom again.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Jack Van Wy on behalf of Mark Meadows. He waives his presence.
Thank you.
And William Cromwell for Kathy Latham. She waives her presence.
Your Honor, Mike Smith, Prague Vichy for Mr. Hampton with local counsel John Monroe.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that at all.
With local counsel John Monroe, it's to my right.
Okay.
Richard Price, who has another list for Mr. Cheeley, who waives his presence.
Harry McDougall for Jeffrey Clark waives his attendance at the hearing.
I think we're now to Mr. Roman.
Good morning, Judge. Ashley and John Merchant for Mr. Roman, and he waives his appearance.
Yeah, Ashley.
Greg Gillen and Anthony Lake for Mr. Schaefer, and he is present.
All right, and then Mr. Floyd. All right, not seeing Mr. Floyd present today or anyone on behalf of his counsel.
Harrison.
He received notice that today would resume. And so I will make a finding that he's decided not to attend today's round two. All right, anything we need to take up before resuming? We have someone from the gallery.
Harrison Floyd.
He's sick today. I have a Floyd's office,
So that's
okay. And Mr. Floyd has decided
not to.
What exactly? Did he
told her that relationship started in 2019.
Oh, that's...
Now, Willis and Wade both testified it started in 2022.
I don't know what Mr. Floyd's decided. I'm just here on behalf of Mr. Morrison.
Ms. Cross?
It sounds like it's a deliberate choice for Mr. Morrison not to be this morning, and the defendant was certainly here yesterday if he joins later. Otherwise, I think we could call that a voluntary waiver.
Okay, I agree. And I haven't heard anything else from
that's a little
Mr.
strange.
Morrison or any other counsel.
So lawyer just
is
said
there
like his...
anything we need to take up before resuming testimony here? Let me start with the state.
I'm sorry, thank you, Your Honor. Yesterday, the state had asked that Ms. Yurdi be, her subpoena be held in case we needed to recall. I let her attorney know last night after speaking to him, don't intend to recall her. And as far as the state's concerned, I know she'd already been released from the subpoena from the other side. So there was no reason for her to rejoin us today. from the
Robin
state's
Yurdi's
perspective.
All right,
released.
Ms. Merchant, can we excuse Ms. Yurdi?
I talked to her attorney last night, and I said we had a different conversation, so I think she's still on standby if we need to recall her.
So your position has changed since yesterday?
Well, based on the state's representation that they may have rebuttal evidence, but they didn't give us that, so I don't know what that is. So in rebut, if they present something in rebuttal that I need to call her to talk about, then I will do that.
All right, we'll address it as it comes up. What else? Anything else, Ms. Cross?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Merchant.
I know that we are still in the middle of Ms. Willis, but we need to address some of the things that were said yesterday in court in regards to Mr. Bradley, privilege, things like that. Do you want to do that now, or would you rather do that before Mr. Bradley comes back?
When you say address them, what do you mean?
Well, there's a couple different issues, but we've got the privilege issue is one of them. But I also, what I did was I drafted all my questions, and I thought I could give those to either the court, opposing counsel, everyone could review them. So we didn't have to worry about the privilege stuff. There were some allegations made. I had a transcript made of the proceeding yesterday. Some specific allegations that I think I should have an opportunity to refute. Specifically that I had egregiously misrepresented that things that I had said were patently false, and that all of that information came from Mr. Abadi speaking with Mr. Chopra. I spoke with Mr. Chopra, maybe, I don't know, we talked to him in the car on the way here on speakerphone, Mr. Merchant and I, and he said that he didn't tell Mr. Abadi any of that information, doesn't know where Mr. Abadi got it from. Mr. Abadi says that he did. And so, you know.
If there's any clearing of the air that needs to happen, and if we need to get to that, I think the right time would be once we've actually seen all the evidence that comes out. So,
Thank you. I just wanted to let the court know. Thank you.
and in terms of the privilege issue, if you're planning to recall Mr. Bradley and you've actually typed out some specific questions, then yes, I think that would be helpful and
It would
might
be
allow
helpful.
things to proceed a little more efficiently through
Yeah,
his testimony.
nicely
So
done,
To
Ashley.
the extent you've got those typed out and are willing to provide those to counsel for Mr. Bradley and the state,
Good move.
I'd encourage you to do that.
So you can tell the
And
judge was frustrated yesterday.
when
So
before we call him, we can get into that as well.
yeah, nicely done.
Thank you. And I have a copy for the court. I have a copy for, I have one copy for either the state or Mr. Evans.
What a
I
great
know
defense
Mr. Body was
attorney.
objecting to privilege
Yeah.
yesterday, but I think it's actually Mr. Evans that needs to do that.
Was Mr. Evans is here. Okay. All right. Anything else from any counsel?
Vote the rule, make sure it's still invoked.
Rule is still in place.
Witnesses,
All right.
get out.
Not seeing anything else. If we could bring back in Ms. Willis.
Actually, Your Honor, the state has no further questions for Ms. Willis.
Of course they
so
don't.
All right.
No need to recall.
Of course they don't. They don't want to ask
Okay,
her
Ms.
any
Merchant.
questions because
Next
she's
witness.
a disaster. Okay. So that was a smart move by the government. Don't bring
We are
Fanny
about to hit
back.
the
There we
privilege
are.
event.
Okay. Then do you need counsel need a moment to take a look at her questions?
So I've got a copy. Oh, I guess Mr. Evans.
And then do we have Mr. Bradley somewhere in the whereabouts nearby?
Mr. Chopra. I informed Mr. Chopra that he's still under subpoena, so let's.
Well, him and his client.
They dumped Fanny. They did not want Fanny back on the stand. Okay. They didn't even try to rehabilitate her.
He's actually not here today. He's
We need you to identify yourself for the record, sir.
at ward. He's not here at this moment. He has a doctor's appointment that he's currently in as we speak.
Oh my gosh.
And his representation is on the way here as well. I'd love to be able to get one of the.
Do you have a copy, Ashley? Ms. Merchant?
I just gave Mr. Evans.
No, is there one?
Do you have a time estimate of when he's supposed to be here?
Yes, I have one copy for y'all. Of the
He's
questions.
Not for.
And where's the doctor in relation to here?
Yeah. Why is he at the doctor's, not my
at
courtroom?
the very earliest, he would be free about 10 o'clock, 10 to 10:30.
All right. He's currently driving here as we speak.
He's at the actual doctor's office as we speak.
Well, what's he
Okay.
doing there?
And
I
Judge?
think the council has been informed of that last night, that he would not be here until at the earliest 10 to 10:30.
all right.
I wasn't told 10 or 10:30, but
Sure. Ms. Merchant, other than Mr. Bradley, did you have any other witnesses?
not that I can call before Mr. Bradley.
But I do think we can take up some of the privilege.
Sure. No, I think we can use this time to do that. So why don't y'all take a moment to look at the questions and then let me know when you're ready to proceed.
Dude has a
Part of it
subpoena.
doesn't have to do with the question. I understood yesterday. I know these gentlemen are looking at the same time, so we want me to wait until they've had a chance to.
Well, I think you're about to maybe make a legal qualification here. So why don't we hear what you got?
Yesterday, it sounded as if the witness was going to decline to answer any questions at all in relation to communications or observations or anything, be it independent source or otherwise, that took place during the time of the alleged attorney-client privilege or relationship, which 2015, I think, until the present. I understood that as referencing not simply attorney-client privilege communications, but what we commonly refer to under the 1.6 as confidences and secrets, which are not covered by the attorney-client privilege and are not barred from testimony or evidence in a courtroom. But it sounded as if the court is going to have to order this Mr. Bradley to testify. And then Mr. Bradley will have to take a position of whether he's going to follow the court's order, heed the court's order, or whether he's not. If he does, then we'll be able to get in hopefully to the questions that Ms. Merchant has prepared on Mr. Roman's behalf. If he says, I'm not going to comply, then theoretically, we're in a position in which court would have to hold him in contempt. And then at that point, my guess would be that somebody would say, I would like him to have the contempt stayed while I take it up on appeal. So I'm just trying to play through where we're
Sure.
going to be. Because if we're going to do that, we might as well notice before we start putting them on the stand.
I think that's a good thing to flag now, and I agree that yesterday during the hearing, there was some intermingling of 1.6 and attorney-client privilege, and now having had the time to kind of parse through that, and
That's what Nathan Wade
it
invoked
does
on his
seem
interrogatories.
that there is a distinction between the two. One is not covered by the evidentiary privilege, and pulling the case of Tenet Healthcare Corp., 273 Georgia 206. Supreme Court doesn't make that distinction. So to that end, Mr. Evans, as we work through these issues, I would say that when Mr. Bradley takes the stand, I would be directing him to respond and be responsive to any questioning
Nice.
that may be covered by Rule 1.6. That would be the order of this court. But that still reserves the issue of attorney-client privilege.
Nice.
So as you're reviewing those questions, we'll keep that in mind.
Yep.
And I'll be interested to hear your response.
We're going to get a lot more leeway with Terrence Bradley, which is great news because he was.
Anything else you think we should clarify before we take a break to look at the questions? Do you have a copy for me?
Yes. A copy of the questions, Judge, and I also have copies of the, there's the exhibit that I would be filing to support it. Would you like that as well? I just gave you those.
This is
Certainly have an objection to filing. Did you say you want to file it?
No, that I'm going to use in Mr. Bradley's testimony. I think that would help, but we can wait and I can use it there. I approached it with questions that I gave Mr. Bradley.
This is Terrence Bradley. This guy testified very briefly yesterday, and he started invoking. So this was the guy who was Nathan Wade's law partner and also his divorce attorney at one point. And so we had a big distinction.
All right. And counsel for Mr. Bradley, I'm sorry, could I get your name one more time? I didn't write it down.
Maybe I'm Ward.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ward, if we could get just some regular updates of
Where
he is and how he is progressing towards the courtroom. And then when everyone has had a chance to read these questions in the interim, let me know and we can take this up. Mr. McDougald.
I have a text message from one of Mr. Floyd's lawyers that he's logged in on the Zoom conference, Your Honor.
Okay. Is someone joining us by, thank you. Is someone joining us by Zoom that wants to appear for the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Chris Kucherov for Mr. Floyd.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kucherov. And I think we had a legal assistant here announcing on Mr. Floyd's behalf, but I think it would be better to have counsel of record. Any announcement in terms of Mr. Floyd's presence this afternoon, or excuse me, today?
We waive his appearance. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't know. Did you ask a question?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Floyd joined us yesterday, but I do not see him here today. Do you have an announcement about his presence for today's hearing?
No, he will not be present, Your Honor.
All right.
We would waive his
There you go.
presence.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kucherov. All right. We'll be in recess until I hear from the parties.
Thank you.
Okay, so very interesting things happening this morning. So let's break down. All rise. Sorry, Judge. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. All rise, all rise. All right, get up. All right. So can you keep it down? We're trying to do a show here, okay? We're trying to do a show. Pipe down, everybody. All right. So a lot went down right there, and let's talk about it. So first of all, Fani Willis is not going to be testifying anymore, okay? She's done. And this, I think, articulates and explains exactly how bad her testimony was the day before. Okay, there's a bunch of people out there on the left who say that Fani Willis did a great job, and, you know, this was heroic, and she was a little angry, okay, but she deserved to be angry because of what's happening here. She's under attack, you know, democracy and all the things. But she did not come back on the stand today, okay? They didn't have any rehabilitation for her. They just allowed no cross-examination, right? So the defense team put her on the stand. They asked her a bunch of questions. Then when the state, the government had the opportunity to rehabilitate her, okay, to make her look good again, they didn't do it. Why? Because there would have been another recross, right? Another redirect, essentially, by Ashley Merchant. So they did not want to give him that opportunity at all. So they just called it. They said, we don't need to even ask her another single question because she's such a disaster, right? And if her testimony was really great, if she did an amazing job and she didn't expose herself to any, any other potential criminal liability or elsewhere wise, then that is a strange thing to do, right? If she was so good, they should have brought her back out, but they didn't because it was a disaster, okay? So it was actually a smart move by them. I think that's a smart move, but it's, I think it explains everything you need to know. Okay. Fani was a disaster. They didn't want to give her even one more minute, not even one more question. So they just called it. Now, some other things happening. I think it's, a little bit strange. The judge is being very, lenient here. Terrence Bradley got a subpoena. The fact that he tried to squeeze in a doctor's appointment today, little bit inappropriate, unless, maybe it's an emergency or something. We don't know the full story on that. Neither does the judge. That's why he's being a little bit, okay, if you're going to be here at 10, I'll see you at 10. But he probably also presumed that there was going to be some more questioning. He's probably like, we probably have Fani in the morning. And so it'll be a couple hours and then he'll be able to come back and then we'll all, get started again. So that obviously is what's going to happen. Fani didn't testify. He's still at the doctor, so he'll be here, hopefully soon. Judge, I could tell, is getting a little irritated on that because he's got a subpoena to be here. And, you're kind of, if the courtroom is not your highest priority, well, then what are you, that's inappropriate, in other words, for the court. So then that's interesting. Now, the other thing, so again, this is Terrence Bradley. And remember yesterday, Terrence Bradley, he has some real close proximity to everybody. First of all, Fani said that they're not friends, which I could just feel Terrence's heart just shatter into 1,000 pieces. I thought we were friends. But apparently Fani said they're not friends, but he's definitely friends with Nathan Wade. And they have been friends for a long time together, a long time. And we had this big talk, this distinction about bro talk versus pro talk. Okay, so bro talk is non-privileged. It's not protected in any way. And pro talk might be. And so if this guy was Nathan Wade's lawyer, at some point we're trying to find when was the division between bro talk and pro talk. When did it go from bros, which you can talk about, into pros because you have an attorney-client relationship? Now, he said that his relationship started all the way back in 2018 with Nathan Wade, and the pro relationship started when Nathan Wade came over to a barbecue. And at the barbecue, he noticed he wasn't wearing his ring, and then he asked him some questions, and then eventually he started representing him in the divorce from Joycelyn Wade, who is Nathan Wade's wife or soon-to-be ex-wife. And so they apparently, like at that barbecue, they started the attorney-client relationship right then. And we're all asking ourselves, that's strange. So we can't ask about that, right? You can't ask about any other observations that you saw. And they were very, forceful in this. They actually had him pretty much force-fielded up, really couldn't crack that all that well yesterday. And so what they ended up doing is foregoing his testimony. Ashley Merchant just said, okay, we're not going to call him. How about we just call someone else? Yesterday, that was Robin Yurdy. And then from Robin Yurdy, she articulated that there was a relationship that started back in 2019 between Nathan and Fani. And then that resulted in the next witness being Nathan Wade. So we kind of didn't need Terrence Bradley yesterday. But then we got Nathan and Fani, and they all came out. Now we're getting back to Terrence. Now what the judge said is, remember that in Nathan Wade's interrogatories, he invoked that Georgia statute. And the Georgia statute was this kind of commingled statute. And it had two parts to it. The one part was modeled after the Fifth Amendment. And so, constitutional law is kind of complicated because we've got the federal amendments and then we incorporate a lot of those, like the federal amendments largely apply to the federal government, the Bill of Rights, right? What I'm talking about. We do this thing called incorporation where we incorporate those same federal rights into the state level rights. And so what has happened practically is a lot of states, seeing some activity, people walking around, a lot of states obviously have their own constitutions, right? Their state constitutions, and then they also codify a lot of those federal rights into their local state law. In other words, they'll take the Fifth Amendment privilege and model it, mirror it in their own state laws and statutes and constitutions. And so Georgia has something similar to that Nathan Wade was invoking in his interrogatories. And the judge basically parsed through that last night, right? It was a question of law. How do we get into bro talk? How do we get into pro talk? What is the difference between the Georgia statute, which has two parts? Georgia statute part 1 is against self-incrimination, okay? Georgia statute part 2 is about not creating prejudice and inflaming the tension. I have a sneeze I'm fighting right now. All right. And it was two parts, right? The second part was about you don't want to cause like undue harm in a case, right? And this is what Nathan Wade was saying about privacy. He was trying to invoke his privacy rights. So one is against self-incrimination, the other is against privacy. Okay. We also then have attorney-client privilege. Okay, and so we've got multiple layers of all of these things. The judge said, I parsed through this, and we're going to be allowing more of the questions that we want to get into. And so Ashley Merchant, defense attorney extraordinaire, is now ultra prepared, even beyond what she's already been prepared with, and has already drafted a set of questions for everybody to parse through so that when it's time to call Terrence Bradley, who I don't think is now in the courtroom. I think that's another attorney. Then they can get through the line of questioning a lot more quickly. So that's where we're at. Now we're waiting for Terrence Bradley to show up because he's at the doctor's. It better not be an annual checkup, okay? If this was an annual checkup, I'm not going to be happy about it. Better been a real doctor's appointment. Doctor's like, how's your diet? Are you getting exercise in? All right. So we're going to keep this open and keep our attention on what is happening here. But we do have some other clips that we can attend to from yesterday because there was even more. You remember this clip when Fani admitted yesterday to actually taking campaign funds. Okay, this was from her yesterday. And I don't know, I heard this one fly by yesterday, but a lot of people have also caught this. And they're asking if there's going to be any further repercussions for this, any other investigation leading into this at all. Fani admits that she kept some of that cash. The post-millennial grabbed this one. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Huh? Are you allowed to do that? Does the Federal Elections Committee have any questions about this?
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today. Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you, I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today.
When I took out from my first campaign, right, I took out cash from that. I kept some of the cash of that. Did she use her campaign cash to pay Nathan? What? Okay, so you can see why they did not want her on the stand, obviously. They don't want to ask a lot of questions about that. Was that the $2,500 that she paid for the trip to Belize? Was it commingled? Like, that's a pretty bad admission. And that one didn't get much attention. I kept some of the cash of that. It's like, no wonder they want her not to testify anymore at all. Here's this one. That was the cash one and the Grey Goose one and emasculating. And yeah, and he makes him a sandwich. Okay, so were some of the highlights from Fani. Now, there was a bunch of reaction yesterday as well. And here is what MSNBC said about all of this. And they just, apparently the hordes of cash. Oh, it is Hordes. I think I spelt it wrong yesterday. No, it's hordes. Hordes, right? Are there two pronunciations? Hoard, a stock or store of money. Yeah, all right. Spelling's hard too. Okay. So Curtis Houck clipped this one for us. And the defense attorney, I think, spelled it Horde. But here is how MSNBC was reacting to this unhinged total disaster that we saw yesterday.
Lisa and Catherine, I mean, that's how we knew we were in for something. Do you think she's pulled this back? I mean, there's been some criticism about Nathaniel Wade and Nathan Wade, the way that he testified, seemingly cagey at moments, not really being able to recall a lot. She's had a very sharp memory. She had an explanation for the cash, which I think raised a lot of eyebrows. Yes. Why would you be paying back this man in cash? Who uses cash nowadays?
I thought
Has she been credible?
The most compelling part of it. And there's lots of personal details about her life and how she lived. There were places where she drew the line. For example, not wanting to talk about where her daughter lives right now. But the testimony on the whole was calmer than I expected it to be when she first walked in.
You were worried.
But also incredibly detailed. And I thought her portrayal of why it is that she pays for things in cash and has lots of cash on hand was very compelling. Basically, it was a life lesson she learned from her father, and then sort of joked about the way that she was raised by that old black man, as she referred to him.
Yeah, and Catherine Christian, if you want to look not at the salacious part of this, but at the legal part of this, which is whether or not she financially benefited from the hiring of Nathan Wade to be the special prosecutor, did you find her credible?
Yes, and the defense oversold this. There was no evidence other than the woman who is a former friend and a former employee. That's their evidence. And anyone who has an elderly black parent or elderly black people in life, no, it's about keeping cash because you never know when you're going to need it. So she's been very credible.
Okay, so I guess that's it, right? I guess that's something that black people do. And therefore, that other woman, Robin Yurdy, doesn't know anything, right? And she's going to get obliviated today. They're going to hit her pretty hard. They're going to bring in some other witnesses and try to diminish her position on this. And I think this might be a different clip. This is more MSNBC.
I thought that moment was successful for Fani Willis. She sort of harnessed her emotion, and in that moment,
Are you kidding? She was unhinged. She was screaming. The judge scolded her twice. He had to caution her twice. And he also gave her a 5-minute break when she grabbed the documents and was like, ah! Ah! Like, how do they even take themselves seriously? Listen.
What did you make of that moment? I thought that moment was successful for Fani Willis. She sort of harnessed her emotion, and in that moment redefined, let's peel back the onion and clarify why it is that we're here. You've given me the equivalent of a proctological exam on national television, and none of it was necessary because what you're trying to do is what, as Andrew just mentioned, distract from what my office is doing. We had conversations today about how much cash Fani Willis kept in her home at all times based on directions from her father and how she was raised. We could not have gotten any further afield from the allegations in her very sizable indictment. So at that moment, to crystallize, hey, wait a second, this is why we're really here, I thought was effective. And I would just want to go back even further, Alicia, because you have to ask yourself, if you're Fani Willis and her team, are you better off at 5:25 today than you were at 9:25 this morning?
No.
Going into this based on the allegations that were made in the papers and Judge McAfee's decision to have an evidentiary hearing. And I think the answer to that, mostly based on Fani Willis's own testimony, is yes, that they are better off. Yes, there were some unnecessary personal details. I know lots of things about Nathan Wade, for example, and Fani Willis's relationship, including a dispute about whether it ended and how and why, than I did today.
And the utility of men.
Fair enough. But I also think that Fani Willis gave us a picture of who she is, a person who is very proudly
Totally
independent.
different
Nathan
world.
Wade had set the stage for that, but somehow from her own mouth, describing how she was raised, why she kept cash in her house, to the dissolution of their relationship, which basically ended, according to her, because they had very different attitudes about men and women and their roles in the world. All of that, I thought, enhanced her credibility, even if at times she should have shut it, as somebody else at this table commented while we were watching.
Yeah, she should have shut it, obviously, because she maybe incriminated herself with more crimes. All right, let's see what's cooking over here in the courtroom. We're still live. We're still waiting for some people to come back. Waiting on Terrence Bradley. And Not much other activity. All right, so we'll keep on waiting. Now they said, you know, we might be waiting for a little bit. He said maybe 10:30 their time, and right now it's 9:30, so we might have like a full hour of just kind of waiting around and seeing what else is happening. But that's what MSNBC was saying. This woman does great work. Her name is Leslie McAdoo Gordon, and she said in response to Fani, she said, no, how about this? All kidding aside, Fani Willis has better odds of seeing the inside of a jail cell than Donald Trump after today's performance. And I agree. I mean, she was not good, right? I think it was unhinged. I think that she was covering up for her misconduct, maybe even criminality. If there were other prosecutors who cared to prosecute her there, or the AG, or if there was other entities, right, I would be concerned for her. If I was her defense attorney, I'd say, oh man, you might be in some precarious waters today. So that's Leslie McAdoo Gordon, and she's a great follow. And then also MSNBC brought this guy on. Now this guy didn't say the same thing that that other woman said, right? This is a former federal prosecutor called Chuck Rosenberg. He speaks during the recess. He says it might be appropriate for Miss Willis to consider removing herself from this case, which is what we said a few days ago, even before she took the stand. But yeah, good call.
Prosecutors have a higher obligation.
Yes.
It's not personal. It's not
Yes.
egotistical.
Yes.
It's not about you.
Yep.
It's about the office and the pursuit of
Or your
justice.
birthday.
To your point, it might be appropriate for Ms. Willis to consider removing herself from this case now and turning the reins over to a senior official in the district attorney's office and let him or her handle it, because this is getting ugly and it's getting messy, and my guess is it's not going to get better.
It's not going to get better, which is why they didn't bring her back on the stand, obviously, because it was a disaster, right? And a lot of people, I think, are in ultra cope mode, trying to just, pretend like it was a good thing for themselves. It was not good. This guy's in kind of permanent cope mode as of late. Andrew Weissman, of course, says Willis did so well on the stand today, her team should not ask her any questions tomorrow, and thus not give the defense another opportunity to ask questions. So it's smart. Force the defense to call another witness. All the evidence now is that there was no improper financial relationship, which I think you can obviously disagree with that, right? Now, he's saying that the only evidence we have, right, his position is that the only evidence we have is from Nathan and from Fani, and that there was no improper financial relationship. But you have to take a look at their credibility and whether you believe them, whether they're being honest, whether there are inconsistencies in their testimony, which is exactly why you have the rule of witness preclusion, to throw the witnesses out so that you can ask them questions independently, uniquely, and they can't corroborate each other's story. So again, 3 prongs. Was there a financial, relationship, financial benefit? You can still be the judge of that. I think that there's enough there to show that clearly. I mean, they went on multiple trips. She admitted that. There's no records of the reimbursement. So in my opinion, there's clearly a benefit that has already been demonstrated. There's also obviously a relationship. They admitted to that. There's evidence that they may have lied in their admissions, which means all of their credibility is just shot out the window. So you can't really trust them. And is it material to the case? That's going to be for the judge to decide, but obviously it's pay for prosecution. If Nathan Wade dismissed the cases, he doesn't get paid. They don't go on their multiple cruises, and there is no 50-50 split at all. So we're going to keep waiting for this to come back up. I see we had some very generous super chats already, my friends. Thank you so much for sending these in this morning. Let's hear from you. Let's see what you guys say about this as we warm up the courtroom over there. And okay, we had some amazing. Look at this. So we got, thank you for clipping, donuts in the house, clipping for us. We got Debbie Marie is bringing in 5 new membos on the house. Welcome aboard, Debbie Marie. Thank you for bringing in Let's Go. We got Steph D's coming in. Robert M's coming in. David's in the house. Matt O. Welcome aboard, my friends. And if you join us as a member, we do Saturday streams. So we'll be here tomorrow to do a Saturday stream for members only. And we also do after parties. We also do members only stream in the mornings during the regular week when we're not live streaming here. So thank you, Debbie. We also have Wendy brought in, Debbie W, Paulie S, Shadow Axe Band is in the house, Lori F, and MSM Rocket Softball, all coming in courtesy of Wendy W. Thank you, Wendy. We have Ollie Halnas. Ollie Halnas in the house. Says, hello from Sweden. Been a member for 5 months in the house. Oh, you know who's here, I think? And I think he's here a little early. It's Leaf Blower Guy. I think we hear Leaf Blower Guy outside, which is going to be great. He's one of our favorites. He's usually pretty punctual, too. Although he's a little early today. Maybe he's on East Coast time with us. Okay, Ollie, thank you for being a member for 5 months, my friend. Very great to have you. We got Estewa is another new supporter. Welcome aboard, Estewa. Thank you for joining us as well, my beautiful friend. We got this one from CL Rowe. CL Rowe is our newest supporter. And let's see what CL Rowe is aboard. He's coming aboard. And today, starting today off, the Rabbit Hole Guild is our newest supporter as well. And it's great to see you, the Rabbit Hole Guild. Upgraded your membership. We got MAGA Hat over on the YouTubes, on the locals, says, thank you for covering this live. Well, thanks for joining us, MAGA Hat. I was really hopeful that we were going to get Fani Willis this morning. But smart call on their end. They didn't do that. Well, I don't know why. I thought she did such a great job. Andrew Weissman said she did such a great job. So then why doesn't she come back? Because she did a terrible job, obviously. This one from MAGA Hat says, Fani was elected in the corrupt 2020 election. Yeah, here's a Valentine's Day. If you missed your Valentine's Day, says you stole my heart like a 2020 election. Oh, isn't that beautiful? You stole my heart just like the election. Thank you for that, MAGA Hat. Says, I would have donated $15,000, but you know, it's in Big Fanny's house. Hilarious. Thank you, MAGA Hat. Yeah, apparently she keeps a lot of cash around there because her dad told her to. Liberty says, he never stayed the night because he was still married and he had to be home. Oh, that's a great point, isn't it? He never stayed the night. He was still married. He had to go home, tell his wife. It'd be weird if he was gone. Wow. That's a great point. That's a great point. No wonder he didn't stay the night because you were married. Did your wife know that you were with her at the time? Wild. Great point, Liberty. Three Girlies says she paid him in cash with that stripper money. Gosh, there's some good memes going around of Fani shaking her fanny. Good to see you, Three Girlies. Shout out to the youngest girlies there in the Three Girlies household. MAGA Hat says, does Nathan have a mohawk or is it a shiny shadow? I don't know. Male pattern baldness? I don't know. Hey, what's up, Geg from the UK? Says, just so I get this right, official attorneys prosecuting a RICO case are, for their own scandal, relying on the fungibility and the untraceability of cash. How would it look if defendants in a RICO prosecution were relying on the fungibility of cash? It's such a good point, Geg. Shout out to our friends in the UK. And yeah, I think it's a great point because, again, they're prosecutors. Like, they know this. This is why it's so dumb. Like, Fani Willis prosecutes drug dealers out of Fulton County who only deal in cash, clearly. So they're like, yeah, we use cash too. Just like the other criminals. You go, okay. And Nathan Wade was making that point yesterday. He's like, our law firm gets a lot of cash. It's like, okay, well, don't you guys represent criminal defendants who are charged with crimes, who come in and get cash, and the cash may come from illicit sources? Like, that's kind of the point. So, yeah, it's not really a great rebuttal point. It's cash. We know. That means it's very difficult for us to trace it and connect it back to your claims. You say you were reimbursed for all of this stuff, but evidence doesn't show that. So good to see you, Gag. Beautiful morning to you over there. Is it afternoon over there? What time is it in the UK? Good to see you. Show Bizzle says, there is a definite pattern with liars. They never answer yes or no. It's so obvious. Well, they just explain, You over-explain yourselves and you get overly angry. You know, the big frame that we like to always reference here is if you have the law, pound the law. If you have the facts, you pound the facts. If you don't have the law and you don't have the facts, you can't pound either of those. You got to pound the table. And that's just getting angry. And literally that's what Fani Willis was doing when she grabbed those documents. I mean, she wasn't pounding the table, but she was pounding the documents. These are lies. Rah! And you know it's bad because they didn't ask her back. This one from Wild Thing says no security at Fani's condo every time they met, but there was normally security there most of the time. If so, why send them away? Well, why does she need a separate condo? Okay, if she has security also. Like, does she have an armed guard who stands outside 24 hours? Maybe. I would imagine the county would pay for that. So she can't just stay at her residence with her dad and protect her dad? Why did she just volunteer her dad to be overly consumed by the gangbangers? Okay, if she's under threat and attack, she's like, I'm scared, I have to leave, but Dad, you're good. He's like 80. Unbelievable. It's a good question. A lot of inconsistencies there, and I think that goes directly to their credibility. Hey, Knox says, okay, so I rewatched this last night and I stayed up way too late. And Knox is a defense attorney in Texas. Says, my opening on cross, it would be this. Miss Willis, I have to ask, what kind of sandwich did Nathan Wade want you to make? Are we talking about a Monte Cristo, a Reuben, Reuben stuff, or is it a PB&J? Which sandwich did you make for Nathan, Fani? Oh gosh, she would go through the roof on that one. Knox, I don't make sandwiches for any man. I don't make sandwiches for my daddy. I only make it's like, oh gosh, relax. We know you're a strong and independent woman. Just relax. We got it. All right, Daniel's here. Says, just wanted to tip you for the overtime you've put in. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Love the community you're building. Tell me, me too. I love it too. Always positive and optimistic. We have the best people. I hope you have a great week. Much love to the Watching the Watchers fam. We have such a great community. It's awesome. We have a ton of fun. Daniel, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for being a member and being a part of it. And I got to tell you, man, I'm really grateful that you're here and joining us on this. I had so much fun yesterday. I was thinking about that in the aftermath. I was, processing the show. I was like, what the heck just happened today? It was crazy. It was actually a crazy day. And when I was watching through a lot of those same clips, I didn't realize, when you spread it out over like 10 hours, which is how long we were on here for yesterday, it seems a little bit less insane, only moderately. But when you consolidate all those clips together, like we did at the start of the stream here today, you realize how unhinged she was and how much of a disaster it was. And then that's all confirmed this morning by the very fact they didn't call her back. They know it's a disaster. Everybody knows it's a disaster. And I had a ton of fun, Daniel. And, we're just getting started here. I think this is going to be a beautiful journey that we all are on together. So I'm really grateful you're here and with us. And thanks for the nice dono. Jennifer, what's up, Jennifer? Our newest supporters. And so YouTube supporters, if you're a member on YouTube, you can also get access to our private Telegram group. We have a private chat that goes on there. It never ends. And we also stream over there on Telegram. So you can grab that private link. It's in the community tab section. Scroll down and grab it there for the private link. Same with you, Johnny. Thanks for becoming a supporter. Johnny P. Johnny Pajamas in the house. Welcome aboard. Man, that's a cool name. Johnny Pajamas. I like it. Chubby says, if Fani saying she paid cash is proof that she did, then anyone under an indictment proclaiming their innocence, like say Donald John Trump, it's a fact and it's unquestionable. Case dismissed. Thanks, Fani. Yeah. And that was a weird kind of response, which is, she said that it was one witness can provide a fact, which is true. But, you could also say the same thing about Robin Yurdy. She said your relationship started in 2019. You say it started in 2022. She says that you're a liar. You say you're not a liar. There's a question about that. So now it's up for the judge to decide your credibility. And your credibility, Fani, isn't very much there because of your unhinged rants yesterday and your incongruities in your statements. Knox is here. Says, best advice on cross. Keep your halo on. Kill them with a smile on your face. Never bully a witness. Make a friend, then slap them in the face with a metaphoric dirty diaper. Yeah, I think that's great advice. let them go bananas on the stand, right? Let them lose it. You got to keep your composure. And what was so, I think, a little bit jarring about that yesterday, it was almost like, you know, you're supposed to have, like, Fani Willis is supposed to be the all-star, like the MVP, right? Like the #1 player on the team. And for her to come out and sound so deranged and so unhinged was not appropriate at all. You know, she should have been the most senior adult in the room, other than the judge, theoretically, because she's the county attorney. It's such a huge position. I can't even, you know, I can't explain that. It's a big, big position. You know, thousands of criminal cases come through every year. She's got, you know, lots of money. She's got lots of power. And the county attorney is often involved in not just criminal law, like civil cases and, you know, other sorts of government enforcement. So it's a really big position. And for her to be so unhinged was just a wild thing to watch. And I think Ashley and the other defense attorneys, they did a pretty good job on cross. They didn't get too agitated. I mean, they were annoyed, certainly. But I don't, you know, didn't feel like they were bullying her in any way. She was just kind of nuts. It's great advice, Knox. MAGA hat stays. Says caviar and wine with a married man. Yeah, Fanny. How was that? How'd you feel about that when you laid your head down to rest, wherever you laid my head? I don't think the ladies in Atlanta are going to be too happy about this. And she explained the whole thing. She's like, and you know, the thread count in the hotel room was just great. It was 1,200 thread count sheets. It's just beautiful. And we got room service too. Before we indicted each other. It's like, Tara's on YouTube says, Trump's lawyer got her to admit that Wade had visited her at the condo more than 10 times before November 2021, and no other team member had been there. It's a great point. Yeah, Trump's attorney, Steve Sadow, definitely got her to dig into that. Did Anna Cross go to your condo? Did she go to your condo? Did you bring your security with them and Anna Cross? Answer was no, they didn't. So why did Nathan Wade get special treatment throughout the entire case? Throughout the entire term of employment? Curious. What's up? Jennifer V's in the house. Jennifer V is sending a nice dono in. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a membo and for sending that one in. Very grateful for you. Thanks for joining us today. We got a 10-month. Woo! Vanessa says, look, I'll be honest, okay? I want to party with Fanny. Yeah, I mean, first of all, we know she parties because she went and Fanny said that she had, she said that about Robin Yurdy, remember? She said that we used to party in college and we'd come home and we'd party. And now she likes Grey Goose and caviar. So she's classing it up, you know, she's really elevated her party time. So it'd probably be good to party with her. You don't want her to be prosecuting you, obviously. But it's a hoax. Says, more of a professional question. Did you ever face a prosecutor that you felt was so good to battle against that you became friends or colleagues? Yes, absolutely. His name is Peter. Shout out to Peter. Peter was great. Peter was very good. Too good to be a prosecutor. And in fact, he left. He left. He was a prosecutor for some period of time. Shout out to Peter. And we battled, man, on some cases. But it was always, you know, I think always with a mutual respect. I thought he was a real good dude, actually, a really good dude. And he left. He left the prosecutor's office not that long. And I was actually sad that he left, right? I was really sad about that. When he left, I was like, dude, he told me, he's like, man, I've had enough of this place. He moved to New Mexico with his wife. They got a different job or something. And I was like sad. I was like, that sucks. Because like, you're like the only good prosecutor in this whole building. And he was good too. He was very sharp. He was very articulate, very intelligent, worked very hard. And yeah, I miss that guy. He's a good dude. And we lost touch. I think he's in New Mexico still with his wife. So probably living a much better and happier life, not being part of a disgusting system. Shout out to Peter. Tiger, what's up, Tiger? Bringing in new membos as well. Very nice to see you, Tiger. We got this one from, and brought them in. Johnny Pajamas is our newest supporter. Thank you, Johnny, for joining us. Great to see you. PK from AK says, someone should ask Fanny why she was so careless in not keeping any records of her cash trail. Ask her why it didn't occur to her to be more careful. Yeah, and if she filled out like her disclosure forms, right? I think she filled out 2 or 3, she said. So when you're filling out those disclosure forms, big question is, you fill it out the first time, it says, did you have any, improprieties, any improper things? She got elected in 2020. So maybe her 2021 disclosures at the end of that year, right? She says, okay, I don't have to disclose anything because it's 2021. Then in 2022, she gets the same form. The relationship allegedly started in 2022, if you believe that. Then she comes back out and fills the form out again, but doesn't notify anyone about her relationship with Nathan Wade. How come? She is the county attorney, supposed to be like the top law enforcement official for the county. So why is she not following the simple, financial transaction requirements to log these things? Ram S says Fani's arrogance was on display. I know, it felt like she thought she was untouchable, which she's not at all. So I don't know why she thought that she was. Ian Mack says, this no receipt thing is crazy. This guy is booking flights, booking cruises, booking accommodations, and doesn't get any receipts in his email. He's a liar. Yeah, so you're right about that, right? And he was being ridiculous. That was so annoying from him. No, I don't have receipts, he kept saying. I have statements. Remember, he said I have my credit card statements, but I don't have receipts. And that's ridiculous. Like every time you purchase something, right? Isn't his travel guy, his cruise guy, his travel agent, right? Apparently he's got both of those. Fani's like, he's very well traveled. He's been to 6 continents. Hasn't been to Antarctica. I don't think they have cruises in Antarctica. But yeah, right. He definitely has receipts. He was just being difficult for the sake of being difficult. The man, the legend says, good morning. Trump 2024. Let's go, baby. I love it. We got Daniel. 10 membos gifted courtesy of Daniel. Bringing in 10 new membos. Daniel, thank you for bringing them in. Our newest membo friends. Hopefully you're enjoying your new membership courtesy of our friend Daniel. Thank you, Daniel, for being a membo. Guess is here. Says, how many times has Hillary dodged the law? Fani is cut from the same burlap. I love your show, Rob. Thank you, Guess. I love you being here. Thanks for the very generous donation today. A lot, right? Hillary, her team literally smashed cell phones with hammers. You remember that? Cell phones that were requested to be returned and turned in as evidence, destroyed them. Also used software to delete evidence using BleachBit. And she said, remember, like what, with a cloth? Hillary, did you delete evidence? Did you wipe evidence? She's like, what, with like a cloth? No. Ridiculous, right? Joe Biden has classified documents problems. Mike Pence has classified document problems. They all escape anything because the people are on their team. They don't prosecute their own kind. The Rabbit Hole Guild says, great job on the community counselor. Thank you, Rabbit Hole. I can't take much credit for that. It's the people. It's you guys. Would you cite USA versus Stevens to direct the judge to the consequences of this case? It's a great question. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that case. 08231 EGS. It sounds like a good case. If you have a link to it, that'd be very helpful. Then we could take a look at it and maybe even pull it up. Dixie is here. Dixie N is here. Says, hope the judge brings his volleyballs today. Catherine says, good morning, my fellow watchers, and happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Catherine. Pritchie's here. Says, here's day 2 of my leave to watch your fantastic show. We're so glad you're here, Pritchie. Let's party together, man. The media and the Dems are absolutely bricking it. I love it. Their attitude will be their downfall. Yeah, it's not even, I think, like appropriate on a persuasion stage. Like, remember, we have the court of law, which is what we're in right now. And a lot of our analysis is for the court of law. But we also have the court of public opinion, which is another layer to this whole thing. And within that court of public opinion, there's also multiple layers there, right? So you've got, in the court of law, I think what we've seen so far has been a disaster for Fani. I think that her attitude to the judge, her attitude to the process was totally inappropriate. And I think it's all intended to cover up the actual malfeasance. And so it really undermines her credibility. Not her statements undermine her credibility, but her attitude does as well. And that's within the court of law. Now, when you come out of that into the court of public opinion, we also have to ask ourselves, she's got to get reelected. Okay, so that's her position. If she's not disqualified or indicted, is she going to get reelected? So she's playing to her local audience in Atlanta, but she's also playing to the national audience. And a lot of this is about the spin after the fact, right? What is the court of public opinion doing with the clips? And what are people outside of Georgia, outside of the court of law? What are they thinking about her? You know, and is that going to give the judge some cover to do what needs to be done here, right? And to say, okay, look, I'm going to get rid of her because politically it's also expedient. Legally it's expedient, politically it's expedient, publicly in the persuasion arena, it's all expedient. I see Ashley Merchant's walking around. We're still waiting for witnesses to get back in here. But my point, Pritchie, is I think that her attitude was quite bad. I don't think it's going to play well in the court of public opinion. I think people are going to watch that and say, this woman is clearly hiding something, right? She's pounding the table. I think people can recognize that when you're caught, you just rage, right? Even, kids do that. They just throw a temper tantrum, right? Because they got caught and they're in trouble. It's like acting like childish. So I think their attitude is not going to play well. King Ginger says Fani said she kept cash from her campaign. I know we played that clip. Just kept some of it. It's my money, so why not? And it's just amazing. So King Ginger, she kept cash from her campaign, no doubt. Conrad, what's up, Conrad B? Thank you for that, Conrad. Hopefully you're having a beautiful Friday, my friend, and a beautiful week. The Rabbit Hole gifted another membo. Thank you to the Rabbit Hole for doing that one. New membo coming in, courtesy of Rabbit Hole. We got Brian S. is here as a new supporter as well. And so for our supporters, again, we'll see you tomorrow on Saturday for our Saturdays only, members only stream. Hey, Christopher K. sending this one in, a nice dono. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate you this morning. Thomas W. says, yesterday was even better than last week's Supreme Court stream. It had me laughing out loud. It was wild. Yesterday was wild. And I don't know that we're going to get something like that again, maybe ever, honestly. This will probably go down in the history books, and every other county attorney is going to go, let's not pull a Fanny. Don't get out there and pull a Fanny, right? That's going to be in the vernacular now. Nobody wants to pull a Fani Willis. It was that bad. It was a wild scene. The judge had to scold her twice, 2 cautions, and then give her a 5-minute break. That's how bad it was. We got this one from Fran. Says they are on Air Force One heading for Qatar, allegedly, is where they are. Fanny and Nathan, Joe Biden put them on Air Force One. He's like, all right, you guys better get out of here. They're going over overseas. Hilarious. We got this from Timo. Says, did the TSA stop you taking large amounts of money on an aeroplane? The TSA stop you? Do they stop you? I don't think so. Do they? I don't know. I've never traveled around with, $4,000 of cash on a trip. So I don't know. I think that's kind of a stupid thing to do, right? You carry some cash with you, but not a lot, because if it all gets stolen in one fell swoop, you're kind of out of luck. Remember they used to have traveler's checks and stuff like that. But I don't know. Her dad told her to. Mary says Fanny said that she paid for her own campaign with $50,000. So of the money that she really hates, that's the money that she really hates that she lost. So that was her money, and she's just saying she took a little off the top. Okay, so maybe that's right, mate. She said, I invested my own $50,000. I lost it, and of that money, I took some back. So again, I don't know how that works exactly. I know it's complicated. If you donate your money, do you just get to, you gave it to the campaign, do you then get to reimburse yourself for that, for personal funds? I don't know. I don't know the rules, but it was an interesting statement for sure. Tara's here, says, how is Wade bumping uglies with Fanny privileged? That isn't, but the conversation about that with his lawyer might be. So Terrence Bradley, of course, represented him in the divorce. If part of the conversation about his representation in the divorce was about the reason for the divorce, about, indicting Fani Willis, then maybe that's something that would be protected because it was a conversation created in the contemplation of legal services. This one from Tasmanaut says, people can say what they want about Trump, but this era will go down in history as being very important for exploring civil rights issues, political corruption, law, the Constitution, etc. I completely agree, Tasmanaut. We're going through an era right now where the justice system feels like there's a fork in the road right now that we're in, and we're not going down the right path, if I can be perfectly honest about this, in this fork in the road. If this hearing, like if Fani is not disqualified and this type of conduct is allowed to continue to operate with impunity in a county attorney's office, you understand what I'm saying, where they can hire their lovers, pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars, they can fib, if not outright lie to the court, and if nothing happens to them, if Fani just keeps going and Nathan Wade is still just and we all like the train just goes right back on the tracks, what does that say about the justice system in Fulton County? What is this judge going to do with his reputation and his future? What is that going to say that the courts can do? Defense attorneys are not going to have any, faith in the county attorney. Defendants are not going to have any faith in the courtroom. Prosecutions, I think across the board, are going to be kind of laughed at. Like, oh, Fani's prosecuting you? Yeah. Then I think it doesn't bode well for the system. And, this is a microcosm of a much bigger problem. The reason this is so interesting is because, first of all, it's on camera. We can't see, we can't look inside to the Jack Smith cases because the federal government has said that we don't get to see that, right? We can't see federal courts. And quite honestly, my friends, I have some concerns that, after this debacle, other judges may not want to show more trials, right? Like, I have some concern about that. Like, maybe the next time, like, for example, Donald Trump is now scheduled for trial in March in New York. Are we going to see that trial? Are there going to be cameras in the courtroom in there? I don't know. I hope so. But maybe they don't want us to see that because they don't want us to be able to respond to their insane prosecutors, right? And how bad they are. So, like, I don't know. Are we going to see Alvin Bragg up there prosecuting Trump? I don't know. But they are breaking everything. They're breaking glass in case of emergency. They are, I think, shattering due process rights of Trump by trying to expedite all his proceedings. They are challenging. I mean, they're arguing there is no presidential immunity, which is insane because clearly there is. Like, they're trying to wreck the executive branch just to get Trump by establishing a precedent of no immunity. That's lunacy. But they'll do it because of Trump. They're going to throw him off the ballot if they could, okay? They want to disenfranchise entire states from being even able to vote. Why would they do that? It's because it's to stop Trump, but they're just wrecking the Constitution in order to serve that end. And it's insane that they would do that. Like, they're not thinking past the Trump election and what this will do. You're right. We're going through a time. Like, this is a historic year, couple years. And I think a lot of this is going to be etched into the legal books for years to come. We got Christopher K. Welcome aboard, Christopher K. Great to have you. Thanks for the lovely dono this morning. This one from Thomas W. says, yesterday was even better than last week. Yeah, it was wild yesterday. This one, Dwand. Dwand is in the house. What's up? Thanks for the pronunciation. Dwand. Good to see you. I appreciate that. Says Nathan is a contract employee, an agent, whatever. He still reports to her. They want to dance around definitions to suit themselves and change the law to suit themselves. Absolutely right, Dwand. Yeah, and they were just like, these are lawyers, right? They're not dumb. They know what these terms mean. They know what the word gift means, but Fani just didn't want to disclose it. It's the self-interest that also makes this a problem. Like, they're doing it for their own benefit. They're doing it to cover up their own misconduct. Good to see you, Dwand. We got Air Force Vet says maybe when she took the $50K of her money for her campaign, she kept some of that. Yeah, maybe. So she took 50, so-called, donated 45 to the campaign, took $5,000 of that back. Perhaps. Mary M, there you go, said, yeah, there we go, from Mary M. There we go. Mary M says, Fani said that she paid that with her own money and maybe she just took a little bit off the top. D. London says, okay, here it is. Hordes of people and hordes of cash. Ah, that's the distinction there. Yes, okay, so they're both right. So hordes of people, H-O-R-D-E-S, and hordes of cash. Right. So the spelling was just a little bit off, right? So good to know. Yeah, it's good to know. Like to learn those distinctions. Hey, what's up? Joe S. says, Rob, you and Viva are the Steve Madden of legal analysis and commentary. Thank you. Hey, Viva's great. Yeah, I talked to Viva yesterday after the stream just to kind of debrief a little bit. Viva's awesome. Shout out to Viva. I think he's streaming today. I think Good Logic is streaming today. I think Nate the Lawyer is streaming today. I know Benny Johnson was streaming yesterday. So certainly check out their channels, see what they're up to, see what their opinions are, and support their work as well. I'm really grateful that so many people are covering this. It's like awesome. We want all of the spotlights shining down upon this disgusting display out of Fulton County. So it's great. Shout out to Viva and everyone else. And thanks for plugging them, Joe. We got Tasmanot says, we had that comment. Thank you, Tasmanot. And Aku says, joining late, very nice dono, says, joining late, has heard mission of extracting cash from the campaign. Was that discussed in the recap? Need to be discussed in the recap. Did I talk about it at the recap or after the recap? I think it was after. Yeah, I don't know if we squeezed it in the recap or not. I can't remember. We just did it. I can't remember. But yeah, I think it's an interesting statement. Again, I don't know if it's criminal or not. If it was her own money, if she, like earmarked the $50,000 and then didn't actually use all of the $50,000. But why would that be in campaign cash? Again, why is that in cash? Strange. Yeah, and Knox says, defense attorney in Texas, and says, and Cubans keep gold bars in their home. We're talking probably about Menendez. What they are trying to use is old school Mad Money 20 to keep on a date in the event, that you had to find your own way home. That was before debit cards. Or maybe this is not, maybe this is what you're saying about Cubans. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. And I wasn't saying like all black people keep cash at home, right? But I think that's kind of what MSNBC was saying, And obviously I don't like to generalize stuff like that because I think it's not something that you can generalize, generally speaking. But they were just, I think, cheerleading for Fani. It's like, well, she has this relationship, and so it seems perfectly plausible. Like, in other words, if it doesn't seem plausible to you, regular American, here's why it is. It's because you're not black and you don't have a black father. And like Joe Biden says, like, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black, stuff like that. And, I think it's maybe some context to add to it, but does that overcome all of the rest of the incongruities? I don't think so. Lot of other ways to reimburse your lover. Knox is off to work. Go get him, Knox. Defense attorney in Texas heading into court for battle. We're pulling for you, Knox. Get some good results. Drearier says, Big Fani is expecting us to believe that she accumulated thousands of dollars over the years by getting $50 cash back at Publix occasionally. Yeah, her debit cash back. Only to spend $1,000 to $2,500 of it at a time on Nathan Wade. Right. Where'd you get it from, Fani? She really had a hard time digging into that. And why? Where'd it come from? Because if she had to explain it, then she'd have to say, I went and I withdrew, on these dates. Here's my records. And of course, she never did that. So where'd the money come from? I still think it may have come from the evidence locker, in Fulton County. All that cash. Who knows? Thanks, Drearier. We got this one from Doxson. Says, good morning. Hope all is well. I myself overslept today, but that's what I get for overexhausting myself. Oh, and someone go get Hunter. He spilled his white stuff all over the Illinois Valley area today. I thought we were done with this white stuff on the road. Man, that's a lot of crack from Hunter all over the place in Illinois. Yeah, well, people are probably going to be moving very fast there if it's all over the road. Good to see you, Doxson. Hopefully you got some good sleep, my friend. Daxint says, okay, Fani used $50K on the first campaign, saying she kept some of that. Poorly worded, but not an admission of campaign finance violations. Okay, there you go. So another take on that. And I don't know the details on how the money moved around or whatever, but here Doc says this one. With regard to her keeping campaign money, I think she said she took out $50K from her bank account or her retirement. I think she said that, yeah. I believe her statement with this was that she kept some of that money. Although in other parts of her testimony, she railed about blowing $50K on her first campaign, so it doesn't really add up. Yeah. That's what I'm wondering about the mechanics, really. What are these guys doing? Watching memes on this computer screen? Are they watching the show? Hey, shout out to the officers watching us right there live on TV. Good to see you guys. Okay, so she did say that, right? So the mechanics would be, did she like take 50 grand in cash out and then give the 50 grand to her campaign and deposit it in that account? Was it like petty cash? Was it ever officially like divested to her, from her to the campaign for, tax purposes, whatever? And then did she pull that back? Was that also reported? Like campaign transactions are well documented. Like, we keep these things kind of on lock. Unless you're the Democrats. We got this one, which she is. Mama Rocks is here. Says, love the new Spicy Rob, a member for 8 months. Mama Rocks in the house. Have we been a little extra spicy on this one? It's been a spicy hearing. I can't help myself. The RP Games has been here for 5 months, and Mama's been here for 8 months. Oh my gosh, 1 more month to a baby. Amazing. RP says, happy to be here with the watchers. We're happy that you're here, RP. It's been a bit of a slow morning, but hopefully things pick up here soon. We got Brad F says, oh, welcome aboard, Brad. Our newest supporter on the YouTubes. Hey, Bodie. Thank you, Bodie. Says, just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. You are awesome. I think you're awesome, Bodie, too. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for saying that and for being a membo. CHM is another new supporter over on the YouTubes. We got this one from Beezy, is also a new supporter. Love that. We get some new supporters here today. What's up, Marquand? Marquand in the house, sending in a dono. Thank you, Marquand. Very generous of you. Glad that you're here and joining us today. Hopefully you're having a beautiful Friday. Oh yeah, leaf blower guy. Okay, normally he shows up at 9 a.m. my time. Pretty punctual. I thought I heard him over here this morning, but I don't know what that was. Maybe that was the bush trimmer guy. But he was in and out pretty quickly. Leaf blower guy comes on Fridays. He's probably going to be here in 45 minutes. He's usually right on time. And here, Flash is wondering. I'm wondering, is leaf blower man eavesdropping on watching the watchers? It could be a Fed. It could be the FBI. I don't know. Hard to tell sometimes. Leaf blower guy in the house. Yeah, it's kind of what he looks like. This one from Nada Kami. Man, not a commie. Not a commie. Communists are the worst, aren't they? Love you. Love the show. Gosh, it's so good you're not a commie. Gosh, it's good. We got Fractal Machine says, I would argue if I give a birthday present to a friend and he gives me a birthday present roughly the same, have neither of us received a gift? I think it's more likely that you both received a gift, right? I think the better is that you both did receive the gift, and that's how I would log it. It's not like arithmetic. Like if you add 3 to either side, if you're going to add 3 over here, you got to add 3 over here. Algebra, right? Oh gosh, algebra. Like 3x plus 4 equals y. You have to like solve for x, whatever that is. You add plus 3 over here, plus 3 over here, minus 3 over here, minus 3 over there. I would say, no, you both got gifts. You don't get to like cancel each other out. But it's an interesting thought. I think that's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to say, no, there was no benefit at all. We just canceled it out. No. Billy is here, says, thank you, Robert, for streaming this. I watch your channel exclusively for the facts, especially exposing the biggest Fani in Fulton County. Thanks for joining us, Billy. It's been a lot of fun, man. I'm really grateful to be able to spend this time together. It's like yesterday was like, a full day at Disneyland, the good Disneyland. Liberty says Fani and her father were so scared because of her job that she had to leave the house. Then she announced to the entire world that they both have large sums of cash stored in their houses. I know. That's pretty funny too. Roy is here, says 2:40 p.m. Thank you, Roy. It's a great time. Mike says, I make $1 on PayPal and I have to report it on my taxes. They pay each other in cash and they don't report it on their taxes. The rest of us would go to prison for that. Yeah, well, they're prosecuting Trump though, so they get some special privileges. We definitely do not. We're on the other side of the equation. So if you don't report anything problematic, right, they'll come after you. Joel says, for those 12,000 watching live right now, amazing. So grateful for you guys. Thank you for joining us here today. I know it's been a slow morning, but it's going to pick up soon. Hopefully in about 15 minutes or so. Now, for those watching, like and sub. Thanks, Joel, for the reminder. I never thought I'd enjoy listening to legal briefs and decisions until Rob brought them to me 5 months ago. It's pretty wild. Like, we're going through wild times right now. And I don't know that they would be that interesting if it were not for all of the insanity in the world. Maybe they would be. But there's a lot cooking right now. I mean, there's got 4 criminal prosecutions of Trump, ballot removal issues, civil cases, E. Jean, Engeron, the business battles. It's like nonstop. It's very interesting. And there's just so much to get to. We're glad that you're here and joining us, Joel. I'm glad you found us and I appreciate that. Jamie, how did she know his hot dog didn't work? Yeah, that's a good question. And what was the timing on that? Were they talking about cancer before they had their relationship? Oh, so you talked about like his intimate medical problems before you were even in a relationship? I don't remember the timing on that. But remember, they were talking about his COVID and he had cancer, so he was very sterile environments and all the things. Marcus Aurelius is in the house. Former Emperor of Rome. We're glad to have you. Says, so wouldn't Wade have bank records of depositing cash in his bank account? Or is Fani's father, Wade's father, also? Well, he's kind of like a pseudo father-in-law for a little bit. But he didn't want Nathan's hot dogs in that household. I don't blame him for that. And yeah, I think Wade said, no, he didn't deposit the cash, right? He said that specifically. He said, I just kind of donated it around. Just kind of spent it, So it's not tracked or traced anywhere. Very nice. Object Class Keeter says, isn't lawyering 101, to keep track of all your money? Yeah, well, like it depends on the type of money. So if you have a trust account, if you're a personal injury lawyer and you win a settlement, or if you're a family attorney and you have to take like a retainer, so you pay a lawyer $5,000 and they bill you against that, they have to put that in their trust account. And they can't treat that as like their private money. There's a different, right? If you have money that's earned upon receipt and you're not holding it in trust, that's a little different, like different rules. There are different, but there are rules. Like there are a lot of rules about all of this. Now that's with clients, right? These were not clients. These were employees or agents, as Fani said, and they were also lovers. So they don't teach you how to balance your books in law school when you're in a conflicted relationship with your employees. Janet, what's up, Janet? Good to see you. Thanks for the amazing dono in the house this beautiful morning. Air Force Vet says, last time I paid cash for an attorney, they took a photocopy of all the money I handed her. Accountability. Also, Wade should expect an audit too. Yeah, we had a very similar system at our firm. We had like a 3-part system. Like we had like this I forget how we did it, but it's like you do like 3 things so you can reconcile all of it. However it works. And I wasn't, responsible for a lot of that. But we had like an accounting mechanism, right? So that we knew what was coming in. But again, that's with clients, right? So these people are not, right? They're just being very loose with the rules. Now, last time I paid cash, I handed her the money. Accountability. Also, Wade should expect an audit too. Yeah, but they're on the in team. Is the IRS coming after them? I thought they were only going after conservatives. T. Lewis says, I bet Fani will be watching. Once someone attacks her character, she'll bust through the doors again, taking command. Oh, yeah! Comes busting through. Awesome Pursuit says, we need an IRS tax leak for Wade and Fani, like they did with Trump. Yeah, that guy's going to prison, by the way, as he should. Because he specifically got a job to leak the documents. That was a wild story too. Sandy's in the house, says, my blood pressure went sky high. when they ganged up on Ashley Merchant about Terrence Bradley. It's going to happen again this morning. Grr, it is, for sure. Yeah, they're all going to object. It's going to be a free-for-all. Today's going to be a lot more of, of their side, I think. So we're probably this afternoon, we'll see a lot more from them. All right, this is a clerk who just popped out. See any activity. Prosecutors are still gone. Looks like Ashley Merchant is sitting there along with John Merchant. Steve Sadal. But yeah, prosecutors are still gone. Yeah, me too. I thought things might get a little bit off track yesterday when we started with Terrence Bradley, and I was happy that we got things back in alignment. What's up, Frank L., our newest supporter on the YouTubes. We got D. Ham is another amazing supporter on the YouTubes. This one was a message retracted. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But it's a great comment. Message retracted. And thanks for whoever sent that in. We appreciate that. Sheila. What's up, Sheila? Thank you for this one. That guy looks almost like Fani, doesn't he? Like when Fani was coming into the courtroom yesterday. I'll testify, Judge. Step aside. Give me my documents and my reading glasses and a cup of water. Stephanie Olson in the house. Lovely dono. And Stephanie, thank you for being a member as well on the tubes. CB Radio Ghost Talk says, thank you for all the great work. Had fun watching Nathan sweat and crumble. Fani, LMAO. Yes, thank you, CB Radio. And, radio's pretty cool. As soon as we're done here, I got to get back on my ham radio questions for my ham license. We got Lady Ice says, good snowy morning. We got blasted with over a foot of snow last night. This pic is of last night. So snowy, it looked like daytime. Great show yesterday. Snowed in, so glad we have some entertainment. Man, look at that. Wow. You can't even see. There's zero visibility. We don't really get anything like that here in Arizona, so I don't even know what that really feels like. But hopefully you're staying safe, and thanks for watching, Lady Ice. We got CR Hyatt has become a supporter. Welcome, CR. We'll see you tomorrow on our members-only Saturday show. We got Brad is here. Says, okay, I went through an interview and an interrogation class, and I definitely noticed, that sounds awesome, by the way. How do you do that? Is that something anyone can do? And I definitely noticed several suggestive clues of deception. One of the biggest is the rule of 3, which says that a lie is commonly stated 3 times. No, never, not once. That is fun. I love that. No, never, not once. I'd love to take a class like that. That sounds fun. Sometimes lawyers will hold CLEs like that, and I've done CLEs about identifying deception in witnesses and stuff. But that's a fun one. The rule of 3, no, never, not once. Interesting. That's a good one. Great comment, Brad. Thank you for sending that one in. Interrogation class. That sounds fun too. Alexandria, a new supporter on the YouTubes. Glad to have you, Alexandria. We got Voice says, you did great yesterday. Thank you, Voice. I had my whole network of people watching you yesterday. You got some new people shadow watching now. No pressure, though. Oh, no pressure. I got to act like I've been here before. We crossed 20,000. I was like, ah, this is crazy. And I'm so grateful for it. So thanks for inviting some people over, Voice. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And today is going to be fun too. Kelly says, here's to the strong, independent woman who don't have to lose it to make a point. Yeah. Shout out to those women. Strong, independent women who don't have to grab documents and scream at everybody with them. Sheesh. And then claim she's the victim. Yeah. Menace. What's up, Menace? Our newest shout out supporter on the YouTubes. We got Rial says, don't the people asking the questions just have to show, quote, the appearance of impropriety? So yeah, generally the standard is when you're talking about conflicts of interest and things like that, it's about the appearance of impropriety, not an actual impropriety. And think about this from the perspective of, basically the prosecutors and the people who want the prosecutors to not have improprieties. Like, if there's an appearance, you can really question the whole agency. Like, people are going to ask Fani and about Fani and Wade after this hearing is over indefinitely, right? Like, everybody's going to kind of question some of their decision making and some of their judgment and some of these prosecution decisions as a result of that. And that's what you want to avoid. You want justice to be above all of that. Three Girlies says, if you're struggling to fill the time, you could always read the locals' comments from yesterday. Great suggestion from Three Girlies, as usual. Nutter says, I would like them to ask Mrs. Wade on the stand to ask her when she thought the marriage was over. That's another great question. Yeah, would she be called to corroborate that? And say, yeah, I agreed in 2015, and I agreed we're both kind of, sleeping around. We're just going to hang together for another, almost 10 years to get it, before we do anything about it. And then conveniently, he files for the divorce the day after he signs the new contract with Fani Willis. How convenient. Lady Ice says, I bet Fanny and Hunter would put on a good party. No doubt. Yeah, Grey Goose and cocaine, sure to be wild. And lots of money, too, that they just grift from everyone else, not even theirs. We got this from Air Force Vet. Says, Fanny said about where the cash came from. Well, when you go to the store and you get extra cash at checkout, that money is tied to a grocery store receipt, which you do not have to report. So they're trying to keep it out, I guess is what you're implying here. All right, we're seeing some movement around. I think somebody's leaving. Still no prosecutor, still no judge. Yeah, and maybe that's why she was doing it that way. This is Flash. Rob, do you have any thoughts into the possible strategy that Trump team plans to adopt moving forward? Well, I mean, if Fanny's disqualified or if she's dismissed, that's a good plan. So today, I think just keep trying to hit those three elements: relationship, financial benefit, and materiality. And if those things are met, then that might be the end of the case on this one, right? So for this case, it might be done. Now, if it's not, like if Fanny is not disqualified, I think that they're still going to move forward on prosecutorial misconduct at some point. Like Trump's team is going to, Steve Sadow already started getting into this a little bit yesterday. And Steve Sadow was asking about, meetings at the White House and meetings with the White House counsel and stuff like that. So there are other improprieties that do not stem from the relationship that have also been happening in this case. And the judge has basically, I think, siloed that off into, not this hearing. So I think it's, for now, just staying on track. Dolphin Fan is the man, bringing in 20 new membos. Dolphin, thanks for doing that. We got 20 new people all coming in courtesy of Dolphin Fan. You know who you are. Welcome aboard. We're so glad to have you. Don't forget to grab that private members only Telegram link in the community tab section over on the YouTubes. We got Ryan F is in the house. What's up, Ryan? Thank you for the lovely dono and for being here with us. 33K yoga emails. That's a lot of yoga emails. 33,000 yoga emails. Oh my gosh. That's a lot. They drive 4 hours for lunches to avoid being harassed by the public, which I don't believe that for a second. Because Fanny says they went out to dinner all the time. They went to Lickety Split and they went to Mellow Mushroom and stuff. Yet Wade said Fanny was frequently stopped in airports when traveling without security. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think that's an excuse just so that they don't have to trace the funds, right? That's why he paid for everything and not her. It's a fake because. No, they didn't. Fanny's, yeah, she's a high-profile public figure. If she goes out around, Fulton County prosecutor's office, yeah, maybe. But, most I don't think she's getting, she's not like a national celebrity or something. So stop playing that. God rides a Harley, says DEI-DA. I think that's true. Stephanie Womack says, please pray for the judge, y'all. I think that's a good prayer request. I think he's doing a good, fair job, and he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to keep Fanny on, like a lot. I can't even tell you how much pressure. Gag is in the house, says, if Fanny pays rent and other things with the Cash App, why not use Cash App to repay Wade? Well, he said he didn't use it, That's what she said. He didn't use that. Nothing about this passes the smell test, and Wade's smug grin about not having a single piece of proof, not a one, seemed like taunting to me. The way we see organized crime bosses act in movies. Maybe, man. Maybe, that's an ominous comment, Gag. It's like, what if they know something that we don't know? You know, what if Fani just came out there and she's like, I'll say whatever the hell I want. Whatever. I'll say this, I'll say that. I don't care. Because they know it's going to be in their favor. We'll see. I don't think so, right? I mean, again, if the judge doesn't do something here, he's basically like endorsing this type of conduct and more importantly, the dishonesty to him in his courtroom, where they can say in an affidavit that their relationship started in 2022, but we have a key witness who literally used to work with Fani who says, nope, 2019. That's a lie. So everything else that comes after that is I think, diminishing their credibility. Tara says, Fani spent a couple hours emasculating a black man. She did that by alluding to his misogyny and his impotence. She likely spits in his sandwiches. She doesn't make the sandwiches, I don't think. But you're right. She was like, Nathan Wade tells me to make sandwiches. He doesn't remember dates because he's a man. He's an idiot. Men only like intercourse. They don't care about other things, you know. And so he would think he would say our relationship ended before I would, you know, because I stopped sleeping with him. And then when I stopped sleeping with him, I still thought we were in a relationship, and then I ended the relationship later. So yeah, it wasn't very nice of her. Now, Lady says, I find the fact that they both were so focused on the intercourse part of the relationship is interesting. Yeah, I bet they're basing their facts on when the relationship started on a technicality of it stopped and started many times. And during that period, they were not romantic due to not sleeping together because of man issues, not to, you know, emasculate a black man or anything. Yeah, we definitely don't want to do that here. Fani might have an aneurysm. But yeah, that was weird, right? They were being very cutesy with their definitions. She's like, I didn't think that was a gift. Nobody gifts me anything. I pay for everything with my own blood, sweat, and tears. Remember, she went on that little rant. You say, okay, well, the form uses the term gift to include any benefit in the aggregate over $100. It wasn't a gift. Okay. They said, Nathan, during the course of your marriage, like a legal definition of being married, did you ever sleep with anyone else? He says, no, we weren't married, even though legally you were. But he says, no, we ended our marriage. In his mind, his subjective interpretation of that, which is not what the form is asking you. The form is asking about the objective nature of your actions. Did you do these things, yes or no, within the confines of the legal marriage? But he was being cute about it. No, we weren't married. Yes, you were. You're a lawyer. You know better. So I think that really damages his credibility, and the judge knows that. MAGA Hat says the New York fraud damage will come in and give the Sunday shows the talking point so they can stay away from Fani's disastrous testimony. You're probably right. So what MAGA Hat's talking about is the Angeron, a.k.a. Areola, a.k.a. the NIP, the bonus torso photo judge. He's the person who is going to apparently release the Trump decision, probably disgorging him of, I don't know, $300 million. It's going to be insane. And it's probably going to be very aggressive, just as you are expecting, which is to rebut some of this bad news coverage over these last days. Charles Argo says, Professor Dershowitz, Alan Dersh, says that if you have proof of the payment by Wade, then the onus is on Willis to prove repayments, and she doesn't offer proof of guilt. If she doesn't offer proof of guilt. Also, have seen the whistleblower from Fani's office about fraud. Charles Argo, are you from South Africa, I believe? Is that where that's from? So interesting comment from Dersh. Yeah, they have no evidence, okay, because everything was paid in cash. And again, even if that is true, which I don't think it is, and the judge believes that, the question is really about the benefit, right? Not about, like, is it even Stevens 100%? It might go to the materiality, right? Now that might play into that. The judge might say, well, you know, it was about 50-50, and so it was close. Maybe there was a benefit, but it was close. And so I'm going to find it's not material to the ultimate, you know, influence that took place here. And, you know, that's kind of what makes me most nervous about all this is does this impact, you know, is the judge going to say, like, this is worthy? It's a real big thing to disqualify a county attorney, especially on a case like this. We'll see what he does. The renowned unknown in the house. The renowned unknown. Good to see you. Welcome aboard as our newest supporter. Ronnie Barr also is coming in. Good to see you, Ronnie, and the renowned. Glad to have you both. We got HKVP is here. Sending in a dono, no question. Thank you, HKVP. Very grateful for you. Thanks for joining us today. Lisa G says, top of the morning, 1 a.m. from the great land down under. How cool is that? Our friends over in Australia. Thanks for helping to pass the time while I'm suffering insomnia. Oh, man, that's the worst. Sometimes I have problems sleeping too. It's the worst. But if you're not sleeping, we're glad you're here. It's the next best place you can be, Lisa. So thanks for being here. Thanks for the nice dono from Australia. How cool is that? How cool is that? Super cool. We got Bob Dole in the house. Bob Dole says Fani is on the White House visitor logs in 28-23. I remember that. Yeah. And some of those, I was waiting for them to, kind of crack that shell yesterday. Steve Sadow, he asked the question and then he got objected to basically immediately. Did you ever, I think he said, did you ever go to the White House, right? And I wanted like all of the other further questions. And again, she was being cute with that. Like, I don't know if she went to the White House or if she went to like another office building, and met with the VP. Like, she's like, I didn't go into the White House. I was in the West Wing, which is not the White House, okay? I was in the VP's residence, which is not the White House. Like, they're being very cute with definitions. And I was hoping we could dig into that a little bit more, but we couldn't because the judge says it wasn't related to the relationship. Ginger Ninja in the house. You mentioned the 10-hour stream being numbing to how consequential some of those moments were. As a layman carpenter, I feel exactly the same way. Shout out to our Clippers. Appreciate what y'all do. We have the best mods. K Bean is here. John Allen is here. They're clipping away like mad for us this morning. We're so grateful for them. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, man. They're awesome. And yeah, it's kind of, yesterday was also hard to like even really recognize what was happening. It was like almost surreal, I think is the right word. It's like, wow. So that just happened. We need to process that and evaluate what the hell that was, right? And of course, we are all doing that now. So shout out to our Clippers, the best. Hopefully the judge doesn't gloss over the giant contradictions just because they tried to bury them in a word salad explanation. Yeah. I think it's going to be hard to gloss over those things, but the political pressure on a case like this is wild. Quantum Thug Life is saying, watchers gonna watch, baby. New membos, all family here. Welcome to the family. Smash that like button. Extra salt in the house. From Quantum Thug Life, quantuming it out in multiple dimensions. Good to see you, Quantum. AI Rich says, can Fani appeal this judge's decision if he boots her off his case? I'm sure she can. Yeah, I'm sure she can. The answer is almost always yes, you can appeal it. The mechanics of it and how it works is not something I'm ultra familiar with in Georgia. But yeah, this is an evidentiary hearing in the middle of a criminal case. It would ultimately result in, maybe even the dismissal of the case. I guess it depends on the ruling. Yeah, great question. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. MAGA Hat says Trump never rages. That's a great point, MAGA Hat. I don't think I'd ever noticed that. He never has he? Have you ever seen Trump become unhinged? Like Fani, like screaming, like totally out of control? No, I mean, he says provocative things, but he's always in control of what he's saying. What he says causes people to flip out, but he's not flipping out. He just says, yeah, Nikki Haley, whatever. People flip out. He says, yeah, NATO, whatever, losers. And everybody loses their mind, but he's not like grabbing documents like, not NATO, rah! He's not flipping out about it. It's a great point, MAGA. Stephen Mosher in the house as a membo and another dono. Good to see you, Stephen M. Starting the day off with us. Beautiful to have you here. We got Jennifer V. Says, why don't they ask Fani why she uses Cash App to pay friends in their condo unit, but gives cash to Wade? And since they play semantics, does she call Wade daddy? Ugh, I don't know if I want to know that second question. Probably. But Actually, that's a good question. Yeah. Yeah, because maybe she's getting her instructions from Wade, not her biological father. I don't know. But they did kind of ask her about the Cash App. And I think basically she said that Wade doesn't use it. He doesn't use Cash App, which of course is very convenient when you don't want a record of any cash. And thanks for the dono, Jennifer. Dennis M is in the house as our newest supporter. Great to see you. Denise McCarthy in the house. Very grateful to have you, Denise. We got Christine is here. Another dono from Christine. Thank you for that, Christine. And we're 10 minutes past the hour, okay? Where is this Terrence guy? Okay, he's at the doctor's office getting a checkup or whatever. They said he'd be there by 10:30. It's now 10:40 Eastern time, and we have no witnesses. And the judge issued a subpoena for his butt to be here. So that judge we better have eyeballs on him. All right, Christine, thank you for that. Hey, Lady Ice says yes on money. It's against the law to carry more than 10,000 cash without proof of reason, I believe. I don't know about that. I think that when you make a bank deposit of a bunch of cash, then you have to, it's suspicious. Like if you got pulled over with, 50 grand in cash, like they're going to ask about that. But like if you're depositing in a bank, then you might have to fill out that IRS form. I'm depositing a lot of cash, and the IRS might want to know where they got the cash from and all the things. So I think that's why people don't do that. Now, Air Force says, but how much of that $50K did she report as campaign funds? Right. If it was $50K, the FEC may want to audit her now. Right. That's those little mechanical details. If she moved 50 grand over into this account and then, took some cash back out and then took that campaign money for Belize funds or whatever, it's like, did she do that all above board? Maybe it didn't happen that way. I don't know. But yeah, it's a great question. Like if it was earmarked as campaign money, can you unearmark that campaign money and use it as Belize money? Don't know. This one from Davey Daytona is now our newest monthly supporter over on the Rumbles. Great to see you, Davey. Thank you for signing up there and joining us on Rumble. Hers is here. Says, this was better than any law show. Courts are usually boring. Does Customs keep your entry disclosure forms? Subpoena those. All declare what money you carry due to money laundering and not exporting more than $9,999. Part of RICO. And she was not careful, but can charge her with RICO to others. Yeah, so that came up yesterday too, right? We got customs on both ends. You got customs going into a foreign country, customs coming back into the United States. How much cash are you carrying around? Are you declaring any of those things? And I don't know the specific numbers or the details. Is it 4,000? Is it 3,000? Is it 10,000? What's the number? Good questions. Fitz says, best I can find, Nathan's story about staying with his wife until his children were adults is also a lie. His daughter would have been 16 or 17, and his son would have been 14 or 15. That's some good details. You mean back in 2000? Yeah, I guess what date were you looking at? I guess was when that would be. But that's great details, yeah. And I wonder if they looked into that. Is that an honest statement? Did they go off to college when you started your relationship? Did your wife know about what you were doing? Great research, Fitz. ZL1 Life says, why can't they talk about what she said on MLK Day? So it's a great question, ZL1, but basically they're calling that forensic misconduct in Georgia, okay? And that's essentially prosecutorial misconduct. So let's just see. Essentially, the judge is trying to silo these two issues. One is about her conduct in the prosecution of the case. What is she doing that is official business that might be misconduct for the defendants, which is not necessarily related to the underlying conflict of interest around the relationship. So the judge is just trying to kind of not confuse the issues. Now, personally, I think that they're relevant, but the judge has separated it out. Now, I think we're probably going to see another motion on that later down the line. If the case is not dismissed or she's not disqualified, I think we'll see some more filings on that. saying that that was prosecutorial misconduct. She talked about the case in public, but that doesn't necessarily have to do with the actual relationship and the conflict of interest from the relationship. Like she said something else, you know, as an externality, but we're just going to silo that off and separate it out. ZL1 Life. Rosie Posey says, Rob, you're good at reading body language. I'm sure we all notice Fani's body language when she was first being questioned. Hand on her face, finger over her lips, not a good sign. Yeah, she was very uncomfortable the whole time. I mean, very swirling, shifting in her seat. She was far back for a while. Then she got very close to the microphone. It was interesting to watch. Great comment, Rosie. Lady Ice says, my daughter is so happy. Snow day? I love snow days. Good morning. We got a snow day. We don't get those in Arizona. We had to always go to school. Senior Chief says, when we win this war that we're in, we are undoubtedly in, people like Dan Bongino, Matt Taibbi, Michael Schellenberger, and Rob G will be in the history books as the heroes of the day. Well, I got to tell you, man, you're including me in a list of some serious heavy hitters over there. I don't know that we're there, not yet, but that's a really nice compliment, Senior Chief. And those guys are doing awesome work. I'm honored and humbled to even be thought of in the same sentence. So thank you for that, Senior Chief. I appreciate it. We're going to keep working to get to that status, and we try to want to create as much good. They're all shining massive spotlights as well, and so we're doing the same thing here. Very grateful for that compliment. Thank you, Senior. Hey, CR Hyatt says, 1, a log at the White House could prove that Fani was at the White House, and there was a log. There was a vice presidential log. We actually covered that in a prior show. If Wade couldn't file for divorce until 11/2 because wife was in Texas and he wanted to wait to get the kids out of school, where were they when he had cancer? Yeah, and that was also, I think, a BS excuse. It's like he waited until she came back to serve her. Is that what this was? You couldn't have like, if this was all amicable, like, did you need to drop this surprise divorce? Like, did your wife know this was coming? Or did you just come back in and you served her and like, it was, it didn't feel congruent. If they were talking about divorcing, and then she would just accept service and they don't need to really dig into it, right? File together. But I think he hit her with the divorce after the fact, and he's making up all of the rest of it to paper over it. Janet H is here, says, isn't SCOTUS hearing more oral arguments at 10 a.m. in the ballot case today? I do not think so. Maybe on another case, but generally you just have, this is another case. Generally you just have one set of oral arguments and then they issue their ruling. So on the Colorado case, I think we're done with that, unless I missed something. Christopher K says he's probably not a doctor. He's probably with Wade and Fani's lawyers, not at the doctor. He's probably going over what to say. Yeah, I don't know. He better be at the doctor. The judge might ask him about that, right? Let me see your doctor's note. Like the judges will ask about that. Okay, you said you're at the doctor? Okay. What doctor? They might even call. Like, if clerks might call and check on that stuff. It's pretty interesting. The mosquito guy in the house with a lovely dono. Thank you to the mosquito guy. And okay, this is Jake Sullivan, who's our national security advisor over on Locals. He says, Rob, I got online yesterday afternoon and there was no show. I guess you just took the whole day off. Are you taking the day off today too? Or are we going to have a show today? Yeah, Jake Sullivan, he kind of runs things around here. Jake, there's not going to be a show today. I'm taking the day off today too. Okay, not going to be a show today. And, if you want to spy on my campaign or whatever, you feel free to do that from your NSA. But Jake is upset because we didn't do a show yesterday. We were being very lazy yesterday, Anyways, good to see you, Jake. He is our national security advisor, and he's way smarter than us because he went to Oxford, as you know. B-Man says, where's the RNC been? They should be on top of all this stuff happening like in places like Maricopa County. They just closed voting locations. What's going to happen in 2024? It's going to be messy. Yeah, it's going to be messy. I don't know what the RNC is doing other than being broke. But hopefully there's a change. Hopefully they get some energy, some intelligence, some efforts, because we're going to need get out the vote. We're going to need money. We're going to need their lists. We're going to need their resources. It's going to be a tight election. Eiley Lopez says yesterday, Judge Janine Pirro said that it appears the judge is up for re-election soon, and he apparently worked with Fani. I don't remember the details, but it makes sense why he was a bit soft with Fani. He was a little soft with her, right? And he let her go off a bit. Again, I think he was letting her bury herself, quite frankly, and he cut her off at some point. But the last thing that you want is for the county attorney. Judge is back in session. Judge is back on the bench. Let's see what's cooking over here.
All right, we're back on the record, and I've been informed that Mr. Bradley is still not with us in person. However, there's a proposal to potentially move on to other witnesses. Why don't we start with the state? Ms. Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, in order to be efficient with the court's time, we have a witness here and out of order, and it sounds as though there's no objection from the defense, so we can do that at the court's convenience.
We don't have any problem taking him out of order, but it's our understanding it's Governor Barnes, and he's here to establish that he was the first choice of Ms. Willis, and she testified to that. So I think it's just cumulative.
She's objecting to the witness.
Him to establish a fact that's already been established. We're not refuting that fact. We can impeach her on that fact.
Ms. Cross, I think did she say it was her first choice? Did she not say who was her first choice?
I think I don't believe that the governor's name was mentioned. I think there are some facts and circumstances surrounding the search for someone to take over the lead of this investigation at that time. Now, prosecution is something that, given the allegations in the case, is certainly relevant.
All right, and it doesn't sound like it would be all that long a witness
I don't think
anyhow. All right, so in that case, we can transition over, and Ms. Cross, I'd like to call your witness.
Okay,
Thank you. The state would call Governor Roy Barnes.
And Judge, just so I'm clear, so you had told us not to ask questions about qualifications. So we did not ask any of our witnesses about qualifications. So if the state's now going to bring in evidence of that, we would just ask permission to now be able to go into that.
Sounds to me, well, Ms. Cross.
If you want to ask Governor Barnes about his qualifications, I mean, that's certainly something he'd have knowledge of. I don't know what his basis of knowledge for anyone else's qualifications might be, but I also don't think that opens the door to anything other than what my understanding of what the testimony would be.
As I hear it, the issue of qualifications versus who was her first choice.
This is the governor
is
of
going to be relevant
Georgia?
to her intent, maybe, and perhaps that issue of the case in whole. I don't think that necessarily opens the door. We'll see how it goes.
They have the governor of Georgia coming in?
All right.
Okay, Roy Barnes is the governor of Georgia. Okay, so this guy's coming to testify, the governor of the state of Georgia. Did I hear that correctly? What on earth? What? Former governor? Former governor. Former governor. It says former governor. My apologies. Former. But still, what on earth? Brian Kemp is the current governor. That's right. So it's a former governor. Thank you for the corrections on that. I'm still shocked. A former governor, that is a major, major position, okay? Like those people have power. Governor Roy Barnes, born 1948, American attorney and politician. He's the most recent Democrat to serve as the governor of Georgia. A Democrat member of the Georgia Senate from 1974 to 1990, ran for governor once and lost. He was in office as the governor from 1999 to 2003. So I don't know if he was termed out or not. 1999, after being elected governor, he banned lobbyist gifts. Facing re-election, Barnes lost in November 2002. He was defeated by Sonny Perdue, and so he's been out of office
Ms.
for a
Cross,
while.
assuming this may be a 10 to 15-minute witness, does the state have other witnesses on deck that they'd like to go forward with as well?
Yes, we've called to gather everyone we could, so we can go forward with another witness, I believe, after this one.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, so he has not been in office apparently since 2002, so it's been a while. So he may have had some other involvement. Apparently, he exited office January 13, 2003. Okay, so he's been presumably doing a bunch of other, work related to legal work. And he has returned to his legal career. So now he has this group called Barnes Law Group. And in 2010, he ran, but he lost in 2010. Ran for governor again, lost again. So he's been out of office for a while. Right now he has Barnes Law Group, and maybe they were communicating with him about possibly being the special counsel. So that might be what we're talking about. Looks like that's him walking into the courtroom right now. There he is, up in the top right, and he'll be taking the witness chair.
I do.
Roy Eugene Barnes.
Former governor of Georgia.
Royeugene. Barnes, Barnes.
Say, good morning, Mr. Barnes. Can you tell the court a little bit about your background as it relates to your service in public service?
I was first elected to the state senate in 1974 from Cobb County, and I served 16 years there. And then in 1990, I ran for governor and was defeated. And 2 years later, I went back to the House of Representatives. I was elected to the House of Representatives, served 6 years till I was elected governor in 1998, and I served in that position till January of 2003.
And after serving in the position of governor, can you tell the court a little bit about what you transitioned into after your public service?
I did exactly what I was doing before. I was elected. I went back to practicing law in Marietta, Georgia, with my daughter, who's now judge of the state court, and my son-in-law. And now we have, I think, 6 or 7 lawyers. Charlie Bailey back there was one of them at one time.
Okay. And Governor Barnes, would you consider yourself to be a trial lawyer?
Yes. We don't write contracts or we don't write wills. All we do is try cases.
And I want to direct your attention back to 2021, where you approached by the district attorney of Fulton County, Fani Willis, about being a special prosecutor.
I was. I don't recall the exact date, but I know it was sometime in 2021. And she asked me to come down, and I met with her and Nathan Wade, and there were several other in the meeting. She asked me, said they were beginning this investigation, and she asked me if I'd be interested in being special prosecutor, to which I replied that I had mouths to feed at a law office, and that I would not do that. And also, I just had a bad, well, I won't say bad because it happens from time to time, but I just had the FBI to report a fella, a militia trainer, to me that said they were concerned that he was making threats against me. And because I thought it was because of the flag, but I asked him and he said, no, it was because I was too close to the Jews, quote unquote.
Whoa.
And I told DA Willis I'd lived with bodyguards for 4 years, and I didn't like it. And I wasn't going to live with bodyguards for the rest of my life.
So ultimately, you turned down?
Yes. Yeah, I told her. I said, I'm not interested.
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
That was quick.
Sergeant.
Ms.
Morning,
Mercer?
Governor Barnes. How are
Morning.
you?
Just fine. How are you?
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you.
You said it was sometime in 2021. Do you
I
remember?
think
if
it
early?
was. I don't remember the dates. They all go. I could look it up on my calendar at the office, but I don't have that.
Well, I want to ask you about some statements that Ms. Willis made March 28th, 2021. She was talking about assembling a team for this case. Are you familiar with her work assembling a team for this case?
Well, I assume that's what she was talking to me about. But besides that, I don't know anything.
And I know you had said you had a meeting with some folks and Mr. Wade was at that meeting?
Correct.
Okay. So he was with the district attorney interviewing you about taking this case?
Well, of course, I know Nathan very well, as you do.
Yes.
I exchanged pleasantries with him, but the conversation was with Ms. Willis.
Okay, with Ms. Willis. Were you aware at the time that her team consisted of Brian Watkins, Megan Vargas, Sonia Allen, Shannon Trotty, Sao Chan, and John Floyd? She had reported that was her team on this case.
I know John Floyd was involved, and she probably told me the others, but listen, I barely remember what case I tried last year, much less every word that was said in the conversation.
I understand, fair enough. But she said she was looking to hire more lawyers and investigators to work on this case?
She told me, it was to me, she said, would you be interested in being special prosecutor in this case? And I gave the reply that I've already known. I mean, about hiring other lawyers or whatever, I don't know. All I can testify to is what she told me.
Did she tell you at all why she wanted to hire special counsel and not use someone who is an ADA, not have an actual employee?
No, she did not. I mean, we did not discuss that. But I would assume it was because in a case as big as this, that you'd have to have some additional help. I know John Floyd has been in some cases over the years out in Cobb County, for example, and others.
Would you agree that an employee of her office, someone who was paid a state salary or a county salary as an ADA, could handle a case like this?
I couldn't tell you that unless I knew the person, knew their experience, and really had been with them in a courtroom to
All right.
pass an opinion on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Sit down.
That's it.
Hello, Mr. Sadow.
Been a while.
It has been a while.
This guy knows everybody.
I'm doing fine.
Been
Just
around
getting older,
forever.
but that beats alternative.
That's true, but that applies to all of us, I believe.
Yes, yes.
I think you indicated that if you had your calendar, you'd be able to pinpoint a date for
I
it.
would.
Is there a way for you, for example, at a break before you actually leave to contact your folks to see if you can get a date?
Can you check your
Yes,
phone?
I could. I don't know how far back we archived those, but I assume I could.
Would you be willing to give that a shot for us?
I mean, I'll do whatever the court instructs.
So if I ask the court and the court says, go ahead and you could do it, that's all right?
I'll do whatever the court instructs.
I hear you.
And you should too.
I try to live by those words. I'm not always successful, but I try. If I pinpoint a date, for example, I think the record is clear that Mr. Wade was hired for the position on November 1 of 2021. Does that help you at all?
No, it does not.
Okay. Then let's go to the meeting. It sounds like it was just one meeting.
Yes.
And could you tell us where that meeting took place, if you
It
remember?
was in the conference room adjacent to the district attorney's office.
So was it in this, the adjoining building?
It was in the Lewis Slayton building, yeah.
And District Attorney Willis was there, obviously, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And Mr. Wade was there?
The best I recall, now I could be mistaken about that, it's like anything that far away, but that's my recollection.
Do you have a recollection of anyone else being present?
Yeah, there was some other folks, but I don't remember.
Do you remember, were you introduced to Mr. Wade by anything other than you already knew him? Was he given a title
I
or
would have
anything?
known him.
So at least as you're there, if I heard you correctly, Ms. Willis did all the talking, Mr. Wade did not.
I mean, we exchanged pleasantries, but as far as the basis of the conversation, the reason I was there, Ms. Willis did the talk.
And would you be able to give us an estimate of how long this meeting lasted?
Probably
Just rough.
Probably an hour.
And during the meeting, you made it clear, but it was the thanks for the offer, but no thank you.
Oh, yes, I did. As I said, I started off as a prosecutor, and for about 10 or 15 years, I did nothing but criminal. But I've tried to move away from it and do primarily civil now. Mr. Gillen and I have done some white collar cases over in federal court. I've got one over there right now, but it's generally business related.
So,
where I have a client that's got a kid,
high profile,
or him
lots of
getting
money,
indicted, and the case I have over there now is an alleged fraud case.
very expensive cases.
Fair to say that based on your career and the work that you've done, you've handled high profile cases, correct?
I have.
Big money.
I've handled some pretty good cases. I sued Syria one time for beheading a client of mine.
Syria
recovered $83 million.
$83 million.
I guess that's the best high profile, but that was in D.C. I tried that up in D.C.
And what would be considered complex cases, you've handled those as well, correct?
Yes, I mean we regularly do mass torts, class actions, business torts, breach of contract, and most of those are complex, requiring many experts. We also do malpractice. I did malpractice defense for about 25 years, but since I've returned from the governor's office, I try not to represent an insurance company anymore. And I just tried a malpractice case before Judge Edlin in November. And those are complex cases because of the type of, medical knowledge and that you have to have, and also because of the many experts that you have.
Thank you. Did Ms. Willis, and this is the last question, did Ms. Willis tell you why she had sought you, why you had been her choice?
No, I hadn't, but I get consulted fairly often on major cases.
Would you believe, based on circumstances in which you were given the offer, that it had to do with the fact that you had handled complex and high-profile cases in the past?
It could have been. I know her very well. I tried a case against her. She worked for the JQC, and I represented Judge Robert Crawford, Matt Crawford, and she prosecuted him, and I defended him. She beat me at the trial. I turned it around at the Supreme Court.
So you had some experience.
Oh, I had plenty of experience with her. She's a very qualified young. Well, everybody's young to me, but she's a very qualified young.
After that one occasion, did you have any other contact with her in reference to the position itself or who she might be considering?
I had some conversations with her or Jeff DeSantis or some of those, but not really an in-depth, about who she should hire or anything like that.
Did the name Nathan Wade come up in those conversations with her? No, right?
No. Nathan was there, I thought. Now, I could be mistaken, but I thought Nathan was there when I was.
For the conference.
Think Nathan was. I'm positive Nathan was there when I met with him.
Right. And my question was probably poorly worded, but what I was asking is after the conference and whatever consulting you might have done.
Yes.
Did Ms. Willis or Mr. DeSantis bring up the name Nathan Wade as a special prosecutor?
I don't think so. I don't recall one. I mean, Nathan is a good organizer. Nathan can organize stuff. I've watched him over the years. So I wasn't surprised that he was acting as a special prosecutor.
And Mr. DeSantis, for the record, who was that? Jeff DeSantis?
Jeff. Jeff DeSantis.
Do you know who he is?
Oh, yes.
Could you tell us who he is for the record?
Jeff works in the DA's office. I knew him when he worked for Thurber Baker.
Know what his role in the DA's office is?
I have no earthly idea.
Is he in media? Does that sound familiar?
He has done media in the past. Jeff has generally been, I like Jeff, and I'm very close to him, but he's generally been on the other side of my campaigns.
All right, so we're talking the best of your recollection, conference, we don't have the date, I'm asking if you could possibly get it, but the conference you have, Mr. Wade could have been there,
Yes, I'm almost sure he was there.
and Ms. Willis, obviously, and Mr. DeSantis was there.
I think Mr. DeSantis was too.
And as far as whether there was anyone else there, you don't
I
have a
don't
present
know.
recollection?
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next time I'll take a picture, so I'll have an exact,
Next time, hopefully, you won't have to be here.
well, hopefully not.
Thank you, sir.
All
All
right,
right, Mr. Stockton.
All right.
No questions, guys.
thank you.
Mr. Durham.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McDougall.
No questions for the governor, Your Honor.
Mr. Rice.
No questions.
Mr. Gillen.
I've been waiting for this for years.
I couldn't give up the chance getting up here, Governor. Good to see you again.
Good to see you,
We've
Craig.
done some work in the past together, haven't we?
I consider you to be one of my best friends and a crackerjack lawyer.
Well, I will
Wow.
say to you, on the record, that I can understand why they came to see you because you're the finest lawyer that I've ever worked with.
Thank you.
Wow.
I need to put you in the next day.
Yeah, there we go. We'll get that. But one or two more questions.
Okay.
You and I working together when it's appropriate, we've had no qualms about filing motions to disqualify the DA, have we?
No.
Matter of fact, you and I successfully disqualified the DA out in Cobb County in the Brown case, didn't we?
We did.
So whatever needs to be done should
You
be done.
represent your client.
You got that. Thank you so much.
Easy.
Mr. Kucherov, are you still with us by Zoom?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, any questions?
No, sir.
All right, and Mr. Cromwell for Ms. Latham?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect, Mr. Abadi?
I got it.
Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
Thank
is there a way that we could potentially ask through you for that date if you can get it?
The question is, you want the exact date that the meeting occurred? And I'm wondering if we can, if it's really material, the exact date rather than just its proximity to the November 1st hiring. Is that fair? If he knows whether it was far earlier in the year versus maybe closer, would that obviate the need for the exact date?
Can't get the exact date, of course, we'll take the best we can get.
Okay, let's start there.
All right,
I
let me
think, well,
look
you
around.
may take care of it for us, just if we hold in place here.
I'm not sure I have this.
Check your phone calendar.
Well, let me try this first, Governor Barnes, before you do a deep dive in the email there. Do you recall what time of year it was when this meeting occurred?
I'm afraid not.
Okay.
I mean, you know how this is. The cases and the days move together. I had a fellow a few years ago that said I represented him in 1978. I told him I'd take his word for it.
All right. So this,
You wouldn't, you gotta ask you wouldn't do that if it was a question of him saying he just aged.
No, I would not. I will tell you, I believe lawyers should be well paid, Mr. Sada.
All right, so sir, that's something.
I'll have to look. It didn't come up right here.
Okay.
I'll have to.
All right, we'll ask this witness to step down, subject to recall. And,
All right.
and that might be something the state can present with stipulation as well. All right, thank you, sir.
okay, so not a ton came out from that witness. Obviously, that was a state witness, so we kind of
Do we have an update on Mr. Bradley?
we kind of leapfrogged. So the state
Lawyer should be here.
presented their
Um,
first witness
He's probably
because
outside. Tom's gonna go check.
we didn't have Terrence Bradley.
The last estimation I heard was about 11:30.
Okay. If that's still the case, then Ms. Cross, did you have another witness available?
But having brought over, it's Mr. John Floyd, not the special prosecutor, John Floyd. John Floyd, District Attorney Willis's father.
Okay. And is he heading this way?
We got
All right.
Daddy Fanny is coming. We got Fanny's daddy is going to be here and going to explain maybe about Nathan's hot dogs and why he wanted to stay in the house and how much cash they have. So Fani's father is going to be coming in. Okay, so a recap on that last witness. Obviously, the whole entire room was enamored with that guy, Governor Roy Barnes. He kind of comes in and he's like the celebrity. Okay, that's an actual celebrity, right? That's actually somebody who is, you know, a famous person who is probably recognizable all throughout Georgia, much more so than Fani, but somebody very highly qualified, obviously. They came in. I think that the intention behind the state bringing that guy to testify is just to show that Fani did consider other people, right? The part of the allegation is there's a conflict because Fani hired her lover, right? And we don't know when that meeting with him was. So we can't pin that down. Like, when did they meet with the governor? When was he considered? He was considered and he declined, but they're saying Fani was looking for everybody. Okay, then she just went and hired Nathan Wade, and then Nathan Wade and her, then they started their romantic relationship after the appointment by Fani of Nathan. So they're trying to pin that date down so that they can say maybe the relationship started before that, maybe the relationship started after that. But the point, I think the government just wants to show that she did consider other people, right? It wasn't as though she just went and hired her lawyer right out of the gate. Now, Terrence Bradley, apparently he's an hour behind what they told us originally, 10:30. So now it's getting close to 11:30. So about 15 minutes he'll be there. And then we've got another witness coming in. It's going to be Nathan's, Fani's dad. And her father told her to, you know, have a bunch of cash around. Her father may testify about whether Nathan was ever over there, when the relationship started. Did Fani talk to him about any of that stuff? Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Maybe he'll explain why he encourages cash or why he wanted to stay there when there were threats of, you know, gang violence and other things. But interesting morning. Pretty slow. We're waiting for the main witness to get here. So Terrence Bradley still not in the courtroom. We had some other donos come in, my friends, and so thank you for sending these in.
Mr. Ward, we're just holding in place for taking witnesses out of order. Do you have any updates on Mr. Bradley?
Yes, so he is still in this appointment. This may last a few more hours. However, he's going to make himself available for Zoom if that's possible.
Oh my gosh.
It's the easiest way in order for him to provide his testimony.
No.
All right. Ms. Merchant.
I was outside looking for them.
Sure. We found them.
I'm sorry.
So he is asked whether the defendants would accept his testimony by Zoom.
No.
As long as I can show him documents, if he needs his memory refreshed, then that's fine.
It is not because.
It is not.
Due respect.
Yeah, the state would have an objection to this witness not appearing in person.
Understood.
Go get
All
him.
right, Mr. Ward, I think we're going to need continual updates from you.
Go get him.
And also some kind of expectation of what this afternoon is going to look like. I was never informed of a medical appointment.
Yeah.
And I think the notice in this hearing indicated it would last at least 2 days.
Go get him.
So right now, I think he's in violation of subpoena.
Yes.
Of his subpoena.
Yes, he is. He knew to be here.
Your Honor, I believe that the counsel was given notice of his doctor's appointment. He missed one yesterday. He took the stand yesterday and really was hoping to be able to finish his testimony yesterday.
Well,
he stayed here all day.
Reschedule.
This appointment started at 9. It's out of his control with regards to, again, the issues involved with it, as well as, being able to be at 2 places at one time. And
I'm just trying to get more. I mean, we initially been told maybe it was going to be 9:30 and 10. Do we have any better idea to get a realistic expectation of when we think we can have him here?
If it's Your Honor's wish, we can just tell him to come on in.
Yes.
He have to go back to us. He just have to go back to us with his appointment.
Yes.
Is he, without getting too much into the particulars, has he already been seen by the doctor and he's waiting for results, or is he still waiting to be seen by a doctor? I'm just,
Is he in the middle of surgery?
He's been consulting with his doctor and they're waiting for results.
And after he gets those results, he was supposed to have another meeting with them today as well. But potentially that meeting could occur later.
After
He just
they're
doesn't
able
want to come in.
To figure out the purpose of actual appointment.
Okay. If you can, get any kind of an update on how much time they think that those results are going to take. If it's more than an hour or two, I think we would want to start bringing him here.
Get
And
him
he can have
here.
that follow-up consultation later. All right. Thank you, sir.
Did Your Honor want to take up the 1.6 motion? Or
At this point, I think we've got something else that can occupy our time, and I think we need to move forward with that. All right.
his rider, was that something?
Of course.
Perhaps we could all
Yeah.
take up?
Absolutely.
And I didn't learn about the appointment.
Right. Okay. Understood. Ms. Cross.
Yes, sir. Mr. Abate will,
They can call Mr. John Floyd.
Mr. Floyd, if you could have a seat, sir.
Fanny's daddy is in the house.
may I approach the witness quickly? Just one.
And leaf blower guy just got here, gracing our presence. Perfect timing.
Testimony should give to the court will be
I do.
You may be seated. Would you please state the spell your full name for the court?
My name is John Clifford Floyd III.
Say, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell the court, are you currently retired?
Yes, I am.
And prior to being retired, can you tell the court a little bit about, did you work in the legal career? Were you
I was an attorney. I practiced law. I've probably tried 1,000 cases. About 50% of my practice was criminal law.
That's a lot.
25% of it was family law, and the rest was whatever walked through the front door and could pay for it.
Okay. And
Wait 1 second. I think Governor's come back. He might
I
have.
do. My calendar shows it was October 26, 2021.
All right.
2021.
And would defense counsel accept it as a stipulation, or is there any follow-up questioning needed on that? Mr. Barnes is still considered under oath on this point. All right. I'm just going to look for a show of hands or for someone to speak now on Zoom, and hearing none. Thank you, sir. You're excused.
All right. October 26, 2021.
sir, can you tell the court, are you from Atlanta?
No, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I spent most of my legal career, I would say, in Washington, D.C. was kind of the circle, but I've tried cases all over the country, and I tried the longest. I was the first lawyer to try an international criminal court. I was with the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. I was in trial there for 4.5 years in Arusha, Tanzania, and Hague in the Netherlands.
Okay. And when you weren't there, it sounds like your kind of center of gravity was Washington, D.C.
Correct, but I've tried cases in West Virginia, Maryland, Florida, California.
All
Yes.
over.
Yes.
And do you, sir, can you tell the court, do you have any children?
I have one daughter, Fani Willis.
Okay. And I want to direct your attention back to 2019, okay?
Yes.
Back in 2019, can you tell the court, did you move here to Atlanta?
I was living in Johannesburg, South Africa. And unfortunately, for some reasons, I could not get an extended visa. When I retired from the practice of law in 2018, I moved to South Africa. And I had to leave South Africa, and I did then come to Atlanta.
Okay. And do you, sir, remember about the time period in 2019 when you moved in with your daughter here in Atlanta?
It would have been the spring or summer of 2019.
And after you moved here, did you get a driver's license to kind of confirm your residency within Atlanta?
Well, my driver's license for the District of Columbia was going to expire on my birthday, which is in October. And yes, I did get a license here in the state of Georgia.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Okay.
If people just take a look at what's been marked. Stated.
Okay, Your Honor, would you, if you don't mind, my eyes are very bad, which is one of the reasons I retired. And so I need a magnifying glass, so I'll be
Whatever you
constantly,
need.
thank you. Yes, I see it was issued on 9/28/2019.
Okay, so before we get there, do you recognize State's Exhibit 2?
Yes, just my driver's license.
And it states Exhibit 2, a fair and accurate copy of your physical driver's license.
Absolutely.
This time, Your Honor, the state would tender what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Nope.
Seeing no other objections, it's
We
submitted.
have an
State's
address
Exhibit 2 is
there.
submitted for the
They're
record.
going to show us he
Now,
lives at the address.
And for the record, Your Honor, the state is going to supplement State's Exhibit 2 with a redacted copy of the license. The current copy is not redacted with the address and things of that nature.
All right, and do we need to mark that differently in any way?
I will mark it as State's Exhibit 2A.
Perfect.
Now, you talked about when your driver's license was issued. Can you tell the court when was that driver's license here, your Georgia driver's license issued?
It was on 9/28/2019.
Okay, so September 28th, 2019. Now, when you moved into District Attorney Willis's home, who lived there?
Well, my daughter lived there. I lived there, and from time to time, my grandchildren would come.
Okay, and did your grandchildren, were they at school coming and going?
Exactly. I think they were in school in various jurisdictions.
And during the time, how long did you live at or with Miss Willis and at her home here in Fulton County?
She was forced to move after she was elected. I don't know if you want me to go through the whole thing, but that, Your Honor, if Your Honor will indulge me. After she was sworn in on January 1 of 2021. And on or about the 3rd of February, at probably 5:30 a.m. in the morning, there were people outside her house cursing and yelling and calling her the B word and the N word, and just, it was bizarre. Okay,
Sorry, pause, sir. Mr. Abadi, here's the objection to you.
I would say it's effect on listener. He was present while all of these things were occurring. But I can.
No, and he's saying he was personally present to hear these things?
Yes.
Okay, overruled.
Okay, and fortunately, the neighbors called the police and disbanded the group, and it was just, I hadn't seen anything exactly like it before.
Okay, and after that happened, can you tell the court, did Miss Willis have to move from her home?
Yes, she was forced to leave.
Okay, and can you tell the court, after she was forced to leave, shortly after she was sworn in, did you remain at her home in Fulton County?
Yes, I stayed there really until 2022, I guess.
And from what you described, did you fear for her safety?
Absolutely. Not only did I do that, the South Fulton police, they brought a man with a dog, because there'd been so many death threats. And they said they were going to blow up the house. They were going to kill her. They were going to kill me. They were going to kill my grandchildren. On and on and on.
But you stayed, didn't you?
It became, and I was concerned for her safety.
But not yours.
After
You
those
stayed.
concerns came to your attention, and after what you heard and saw that day, you remained at the house?
Yes.
And can you tell the court, with what you just described, why did you remain living at the district attorney's home here in Fulton County?
I don't see how this is relevant.
Mr. Abadi.
I believe it's relevant based on a lot of the questions that were asked yesterday of Ms. Willis as to about the security threat, and the fact that it was implied that those threats were not necessarily
real
in the sense that
Yeah, because he stayed there.
Floyd remained in the home. There were many questions about the fact that he remained and her children could still come and go to the house. I think it's relevant based to the testimony that was elicited from defense counsels yesterday.
Overruled.
Well, these South Fulton police, first they put a car in front of the house that was there permanently, a police car. That was thing one. Thing two, they brought a person with a dog sometimes more than once a day, twice a day, and they would circle the house to look for bombs. I knew that that was a house that my daughter had worked for. It was a brand new house. She's the only one who had ever lived there. It's a 4-bedroom, brand new house. And somebody needed to protect the house. And I stayed there to basically take care of the house, to take care of the yard, to take care of that. Also, somebody sprayed, again, the B word and the N word on the house. And I don't think my daughter even knew that. I cleaned it off and called the police, and South Fulton Police. They have, I'm sure, all the records of all the things that happened. And all of the neighbors, I notified all the neighbors to look out and to watch out. And it was so crazy. I mean, it was just so crazy. We'd have people would show up and park car. There was a guy parked for probably 8 hours out in front of the house. It was just, and we'd call the police and,
So that was before the Trump indictment. So
At
who
the time
were
that
those
you,
people?
Lived there with Miss Willis, and I guess even when you remained. So during the time period of 2019 to the end of 2020, are you aware if Miss Willis was dating someone?
Yeah, she did. She had a boyfriend when I first got there.
And did you meet her boyfriend?
Yeah, I met him often.
Okay, and did you know him by any specific nickname?
Yeah, Deuce.
Okay. And
Okay.
Deuce was Fanny's
tell the
other
court,
boyfriend.
While you were living there, how often would you see him?
Sometimes every day, sometimes, every other day. He was a disc jockey or something, and he had all this paraphernalia that I'd have to move out. There was a thing with the keyboard, things that play music and so forth. So
Paraphernalia, like drugs?
Now, when you moved in 2019, and then throughout the years in year 2020, 2021, had you ever met someone named Nathan Wade?
I did not meet Nathan Wade until 2023, about a year ago, when a reporter by the name of Issakoff interviewed me. That was the first time I had met him.
You said that was in 2023?
2023, right.
So Fanny was dating someone else in 2019. This guy called
And
Deuce.
I know you said you hadn't met him until 2023, but when you were living at Miss Willis's house in Fulton County, did you ever meet Mr. Wade in the year 2019?
Absolutely not.
How about in the year 2020?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever see Mr. Wade at Miss Willis's Fulton County house in the year 2021?
Never.
You already said you never went over there.
The only time or the first time that you met Mr. Wade was in 2023.
Let me say something. Mr. Wade said that he remembers seeing me, and I do remember some banter. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and there's kind of this thing that goes on between fraternities, and Mr. Wade is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and I do remember there was some kind of banter when my daughter was sworn in to be district attorney between me and a couple of guys, and he said he remembers me. I don't remember him.
And prior to that experience that you're talking about, as well as, I guess, your official meeting in 2023, had you ever even heard his name?
No, never.
Yeah,
I
all
don't
of
think I have any
this.
further questions, Your Honor.
All of this is because they're covering it up, right? Like Fanny and Nathan are covering
Fine,
the whole
how are you,
thing up.
counsel?
Good, thank you. Just got a couple questions. On Monday, we heard you were in California. Do you have a place in California?
People always ask me about where do I live. I guess I live right here, sitting in this seat right now. But yes, the answer is I have a place in Los Angeles.
Okay, you do. All right. So do you share time or split time between Los Angeles and Georgia?
Actually, I'm working on a documentary film, and I'm supposed to be being filmed not for this trial, but I'm supposed to be being filmed right now. It was planned, and we had to stop it because they asked me to come here.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
But the answer is I'm working on a documentary, and I'll be in California until I finish the documentary if we don't have another actor strike and we don't have another writer strike.
So do you own property in California?
No, I don't. I live with a friend of mine.
Live with a friend of yours. Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you first move? Well, let me qualify with the dates. Did you spend any time in 2019 in California?
No, and the reason I didn't is that when I first came here, the answer is no, I did not. What happened was COVID. Once COVID hit, I was just paralyzed. I couldn't go any place. I couldn't go anything. I mean, I'm a theater buff. I used to go to theater at least once a week. But when COVID hit, I just couldn't. I couldn't go to the dentist, which I need to do. Or, it was just a thing. So I was just stuck. I was just stuck there.
Lockdown, man.
I may be wrong, but I believe COVID hit in 2020. So I was asking about 2019. In 2019, did you spend any time in California?
Before COVID was even here in the United States, remember I lived in South Africa and I've traveled the world. I knew COVID was coming before. I knew COVID was around before. They may have announced it in 20, but in fact, I knew about it and I knew what was happening in 19.
Okay, so let's walk through 2019 then. You said you moved here in September. So
No, I didn't say that. I moved here probably prior to September. In September is when I got the driver's license. I